its office, in fact, in Nevada district in Bihar, ransacked and then set ablaze, a murderous assault on one of its MLAs where her car was attacked and vandalized. All of this happened in Bihar. Now listen in to the BJP MLA who fears for her life.
आज हम लोग के साथ घटना हुआ, हम लोग आ रहे थे नवादा, और नवादा में हम लोग के पता नहीं था कि इस तरह के मैंने सब अच्छी धरना दिया हुआ है, चाहे तो ऊपर कर रहा है, हम लोग के पते नहीं था कि हल्ला हंगामा हो रहा है, तो हम नहीं आते। हम लोग अचानक आए, उसके बाद झंडा बोर्ड नोच के फेंक दिया और ईंटा पत्थर बरसाने लगा पूरा। अभी भी ईंटा जो है 3-4 गो गाड़ी के अंदर है, शीशा पूरा चूर दिया, बॉडी चूर दिया, गाड़ी के अंदर बांस है और गार्ड के चोट लगा, ड्राइवर के लगा, हम लोग के लगा, इतना ने ईंटा बरसाने लगा ने कि कुछ कह नहीं सकते। प्रशासन के तो एसपी साहब ने किए 2 घंटा हो गया फोन करने,
तो कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं मिला।
और वो बोले कि ठीक है हम डीएसपी साहब से बात करते हैं, तो हम ही लोग भी सुरक्षित है, तो हम पर भी क्या सुरक्षित रहेंगे।
But viewers, the basic question is this an entirely spontaneous protest? Or are, in at least a large measure, these protests being instigated, for example, by the government's political adversaries, who might be stirring the pot and dispensing disinformation to brainwash the youth? While viewers, some parties are openly hitting the streets to protest. Others are busy weaponizing the youth to stir trouble on their behalf. Yes, on their behalf, even guaranteeing protection against arrest and a law and order repercussion. If you don't believe me, watch this. This is exclusive to Times Now. We infiltrated a public meeting and this is what we heard.
हिंदुस्तान में एकमात्र बिहार विधानसभा है जहां आर्मी बहाली की मुद्दा उठी थी और उठाने वाला मेरा वीडियो निकाल करके आप चेक कर सकते हैं कि मैंने आर्मी बहाली की मुद्दा उठाया था कि नहीं उठाया। ये चेक करने वाली बात है और इसलिए हमारा भी स्वार्थ है। हमारा क्या स्वार्थ है? हमारा इतना ही स्वार्थ है कि इस लड़ाई में आपका पसीना बहेगा, इस लड़ाई में पसीना बहेगा। आने वाली पीढ़ियां ये जब मिट्टी उठाएगी, उस मिट्टी से जो खुशबू आएगी आपके पसीने की खुशबू होगी और उस खुशबू में हमारे भी पसीने की खुशबू रहे। हमारा स्वागत। और मैं समझता हूँ कि जो सीधे तरीके से कल आप लोग भाग लेंगे और एसपी हो या डीएम हो, आप अगर जो सीधे तरीके से शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से भाग लेंगे तो मैं दावा के साथ कहता हूँ आपके ऊपर प्रशासन की हिम्मत नहीं होगी हाथ उठाने की। अगर हाथ उठेगी तो सबसे पहले मेरे ऊपर हाथ उठाना पड़ेगा, इसके बाद आप लोगों के ऊपर हाथ उठाएंगे।
Another reform, another attempt to try and capitalize on this particular reform, or like in the past, the Kisan laws, the CAA laws, to try and create a narrative of disenchantment. Now, viewers, it's not as if this particular reform is being tried out only in India. The world's leading military powers haven't already experimented with this. They have, viewers. They've got a system of recruitment similar to the Agnipath scheme. And here are some hard facts which I'm going to take you through. Let's look at the case of United States. 14 lakh soldiers, recruitment on a voluntary basis, personnel again enrolled for just 4 years. Let's press the continue button on that graphic, and then 4 years of reserve duty, after which they can opt for full service, eligible for pension after 20 years of service. So this is the United States model. In China, recruitment on conscription model with 4.5 lakh inductees per year. So again, this number is greater than in India. Conscripts must serve for 2 years, basic training of just 40 days. In India, it will be 6 months. Unknown number of soldiers retained for full service. Of course, China, closed state, closed society, so we don't quite know. But post-demobilization, tax benefits and discounted loans for soldiers. So once again, an incentive is built into this, which is also the case here under Agnipath. Let's look at France. 1 year renewable contract to 5-year contracts. It's a contract system. Soldiers are given training for 3 months and state pension for those who serve for over 19 years. Not anyone who moves out after the 5-year contract, but once you complete 19 years. In Russia, a hybrid model of conscription and contractual service. There it is on your screens. Conscripts get 1 year of training followed by a year of service. Recruitment of soldiers is done from these conscripts, preferential admissions to universities for soldiers, and, viewers, finally, soldiers can undertake education in military institutions. So there is an incentive and it is being built in. What's the issue? I want to open this up. Let's begin with some of those who speak today from the opposition, from those who have a problem with this scheme. Dr. Sashi Panja, Minister in charge, Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare, National Spokesperson of the TMC, is with us. I want to ask you, Dr. Panja, is this another attempt to derail a well-intentioned reform brought about after consultation with stakeholders?
No. Actually, all of us are still trying to get the hang of it. And we feel that there are introduction of plenty of schemes which really don't fructify later. I mean, this government has brought in lots of experiments, starting from, it may be in the form of schemes, it may be in the form of recruitments, it may be something like a demonetization exercise or a hurriedly pushed in GST exercise, which we are still fighting with. So there seems to be, similarly this, something that you're not prepared for. And something which, of course, you are saying that the army has, of course, gone through the discussions, etc. But, these recruitments are something which the young of the country look forward to, to be in the army, the navy, or the air forces. Now, somehow there have been these introduction of limitations, now the age, etc. And, this 4 years thing in which, I mean, what is the time you spend for the training of the recruits, and then you are just, maybe they will be just there for 3 years, and then they become suddenly from something from the armed forces to being a civilian. So what about, retaining what you have learned and the training? So somehow there is a perception that even that one rank, one pension or the defense pension bill, everything has met with resistance, and things which were promised and nothing really came out for the benefit of those. And here we have another one.
No, but are you basing your... sorry, Dr. Panja, are you just basing this on perception, or is there some example that you can give me which suggests that there will be a problem? I've just read you some hard facts, the example of other military powers where similar schemes exist, and they are doing perfectly well. China, of course, you claim, not I. You claim, the opposition claims, is so effective that it has succeeded in taking over Indian land. So there must be a great fighting force, number one. Number two, you have the United States that goes in and uses its tomahawk, quite literally, to flatten its opponents, to putty. And they are also following this model. You have France, on who we rely on for the best defense equipment, and the United Nations relies on for peacekeepers. Look what they did in Syria. So I am not understanding, where is the specificity in your response? Give me a couple of specific examples.
Maybe Russia itself, that even they had this kind of a hybrid model. And were they so well trained to even, handle Ukraine? So that is like one of the examples. If you keep somebody for such a small time. Or maybe when India saw the performance of the reservists during the 1971 war. So we see, who doesn't want the good of the nation? We all want the good of the nation. And the duty of the opposition is just not to oppose. The idea is that somehow we feel that
so you're saying Russia
to
and
run
our
away
reservists back in time let the side down, so we should not therefore go in for this model. That's what basically you're saying. It will lead to a weak armed forces. Okay, let's get that one point on the board and let's discuss that. Dr. Trivedi, would you like to respond? You're creating a weak conscript contract army that is going to melt away in the face of any intimidation or any incursion or any conflict.
There are two basic dimensions on which the opposition is raising the issue. One is the issue of the efficacy of the army, and another is the issue of the jobs. On the efficacy of army, one point has already been raised by you. Out of the 5-6 most powerful countries in the world, can they name a single country which is not having a similar type of arrangement or not? Second thing, we are considered as the youngest nation in the world, but our army is not youngest. So the opportunity is being given that those who can come, serve, and then can go back. And the issue is, if I ask anybody sitting on the panel, which is the minimum age for any job, other than the soldier, all other jobs are having the minimum age is 21 years. So for 80% of the jobs, the minimum age is 21 years. By that time, if somebody enters, and if I ask, is there any job in the country which is at the age of 17 and a half? No. So a person is entering, and by the time he is eligible for a normal, any usual job, he is having an experience. He is having, if it's 10th pass, he is already having a 12th pass certificate. If he would have been sitting at the home for 2 years, he had devoted to the studies of getting 12th pass. So just for extra 2 years, he is having the salary, he is having the experience, he is having the expertise, and with 11.5 lakh rupees in hand, and practically since before 21 anybody cannot get married, so other than a very few cases in which the financial burden of the family would have been better, otherwise 80 to 90% of salary is saving, so practically he is having 20 lakhs or more. और कितने ही बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं जो कहते हैं इंजीनियरिंग मेडिकल में इसलिए एडमिशन नहीं मिल पाया कि मेरे फैमिली के पास 10 लाख 15 लाख देने को नहीं था, जो उनके हैंड में होगा. When they are at the age of entering into a usual job, other than the state governments and the central governments and others which will be giving benefit, and in the paramilitary forces and other police services, they will be by default better equipped than any of the other person who is competing with them in the open examination. And now coming to other, why is the need of this young force? Colonel Arson Singh ji is there, he is well versed in these type of things. Now when the war will be there, it not be the war like we have fought in 71 or even in 99. It will be the hybrid war. When this time the war will be there will be a cyber attack on all our systems, whether the banking system, the transportation system, and others. So that even the army is developing the cyber cell also. So our youth, which is very well equipped in those things, if they get an expertise of a 6 month or 1 year, then they can have a better hybrid war, like the drones. They were not there 20 years back. So if you want to really tackle a war in the modern circumstances, I think the induction of youth and training of them will be much better. And when they will be going out in any part of the society, there will be a disciplined, dedicated, nationalist section of the society that will be altogether good. So where is the problem? It's not saying
where is the problem, says the BJP. Where is the problem? Where is the problem, says the BJP. Okay, Sanjay Jha, where is the problem? I want to open this up right after to Dr. Anand Ranganathan and Colonel Arson. Yes, Sanjay Jha, where's the problem? You know, you talk about the fact that there's a lack of employment opportunities. The government says we're going to guarantee you employment and give you a corpus of 11.71 lakhs. What are you complaining about?
Well, Rahul, let me just give you a response, 3 very short points. Number 1, and I'm not going to quote anybody else, but I'm going to quote members of the defense services, serving current or retired. Let me quote to you Lieutenant General Harwat Singh, Indian Army Deputy Chief of Staff, who's on record, and I have read these reports in great detail, who's mentioned, where will this lead to any motivation when a person joins knowing that his tenure in all probability will be limited to just 4 years? And that is his statement. There are others who have said, is the government going to treat the Indian, of non-officer rank army as tourist soldiers or as part of an adventure camp? I think these are serious statements.
No, who is saying this? Tourist soldiers. Who is saying it?
These are a whole series of people in reports.
Tell me,
I can
name them.
send it to you.
Name them.
Well, I've already mentioned to you Lieutenant General Harbat Singh, a Deputy Indian Chief of Staff, who's been extremely critical of this. Now let me finish my sentence.
Name the others. Name the others.
Let me finish my statement.
No, because I'll tell you, because on my show and through the day on this channel and through other days, we've also had several top military strategists and veterans who are defending this. So where is this straw poll number? That overwhelmingly the Congress says, overwhelmingly unanimous view among veterans that the scheme is bad.
Pro or against?
Well, Rahul, for God's sake, can we do one thing? I don't want to make a statement on your show because I respect you and I respect your channel, that we all can be very guilty of selective cherry picking. So let's not go down that road. Let me make the second very pertinent point for the debate. The government says we need to cut down on our pension bill. Fair enough. You need to worry about your finances. But this is the same government, Rahul, and I've debated this with you on your program, that gave the corporate sector, I remember Nirmala Sitharaman's flamboyant press conference, 1,45,000 crore of a tax bonanza to Indian corporate sector. You know what she said then? This is going to result in a revolution of jobs. So what do you do here? You're actually giving money, taking money away from what could be India's soldiers, giving it to India's corporates, many of them which are, by the way, billionaires, and some of them are richest in the world, and they haven't even created jobs. And you're taking it away from the Indian army. This is a party, Sudhanshu ji's party, that talks of national security. It's like telling Sudhanshu ji today, Sudhanshu ji, आपसे मैं यह प्रश्न पूछना चाहूंगा, यदि भाजपा आपको कहे कि आप प्रवक्ता सिर्फ 3 महीने के लिए रहेंगे, तो आपका क्या मनोबल बढ़ जाएगा? आपका हौसला अफजाई बढ़ जाएगा क्या आप टीवी चैनल पर आके ऐसे ही बात करेंगे? If there is a criticism against this government, it is that they give too much largesse, too much to farmers, too much to the poorest of the poor, too many subsidies, too much free food. That is what people are also saying. But I want to ask you a more fundamental question. Manish Tiwari says the following.
Can I say one thing, Rahul?
Yes, Dr. Trivedi, go ahead. Make your point.
Line to Sanjay ji.
Yes.
Sanjay ji, please do not take it personally, but you have given an example that kya 3 mahine ke liye rahenge. I remember when you started coming on the television channel as for the favor of Congress party, you didn't start directly as a spokesperson. You were representing the hamaracongress.com. And by witnessing your performance, the Congress has given you a spokesperson post. There were so many other people were there who were also coming, but you got the opportunity. So where is the problem in that?
Sudhanshu ji, प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि आप कह रहे हैं कि 75% लोगों को तो आप हटा दे रहे हैं, उनको घर भेज रहे हैं आप। तो देखिए इस तरीके से मैं समझता हूं कि आप भारत की सेना की बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर को कोई फ्रंट लाइन।
Let me talk about, let me say, viewers, you see, like Sanjay Jha points to
Rahul.
Yes, sir.
No.
One sentence.
Then I would also like to come in.
Yeah, 1 second.
One sentence. Sir, Sanjay Jha ji, क्या हमारी आर्मी में सारे परमानेंट सोल्जर्स थे? Was not the short service commission? The short service commission was 7 years. So if you say that in 7 years there will be no motivation, there will be motivation, for 4 years there will be no motivation. And the practical problem is, for 7 years the 2 years training was there. So जब वो 1928 में आता था, तो 9 years, यानी 28, 29, he's having with no opportunity for any job. He has to fall under the category of ex-servicemen and without any pension. तो भाई ये तो already था. Just reducing 7 years to 4 years has become a problem. I don't subscribe to this logic.
And
Sudhanshu ji 6 महीने को तैयार हो जाएगा, 6 महीने में, 6 महीने में को तैयार हो जाएगा.
Let me just point out, viewers, I gave you some examples. United States 4 years, also China 2 years. They are no less motivated. If you believe the Congress party, they have made Modi surrender. In fact, they said Surinder Modi, if I'm not mistaken. This is the Congress party. Russia, hybrid model. Again, viewers, 1 year of training followed by a year of service. Everyone would run away from the battlefield. That's not quite happening. 1 second. And let me ask one second. And I want to open this up a little further. One second, sir. 1 second. I'll come back to you. We're not running away. 1 second, sir. Sanjay ji, 1 minute, please. Manish Tiwari, who is your colleague in the Congress party, says, I do empathize with youth who have concerns over Agnipath recruitment process. Reality is India needs a young armed force with lighter human footprint, savvy on technology, equipped with state-of-art weaponry. Armed Forces of Union shouldn't be an employment guarantee program. Your own party member.
But that's exactly my point. The BJP is making it into
No, what are you saying? He's actually saying it's a very good idea.
Well, he may be my colleague. He's, by the way, a very dear friend. I don't have to agree with him.
No, so you don't. So similarly, when you say all army personnel, no, Sanjay Jha, a few army personnel, and they're entitled to their views. There will always be a few people who may have a problem with a scheme or two, but to make it and sort of suggest
Rahul,
that the youth of this country are going to go to waste after 4 years. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan.
Do you honestly believe yourself that 6 months of training is adequate exposure to be ready fighting for the country?
Let me tell you, we have Colonel RSN here with us. We have Colonel RSN. It's not a break really from the tradition that is still followed. I'll bring him in on this point. If your point is that 6 months of training can't produce a dedicated fighting force, I'll get him to speak about that. But first, let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan, and after that, Colonel RSN. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. I've been listening very patiently to the others, so can I please expect a courtesy of a couple of minutes uninterrupted. Rahul, speaking as a layman, because the good colonel is there to speak as a professional, as an expert, I support the Agniveer scheme for the following reasons. One, the chiefs of all 3 wings of our armed forces are supporting it enthusiastically. And across decades, across different governments, I cannot think of a single instance where our chiefs have knowingly taken a decision not in the interest of either the armed forces or the nation. It follows that if they are supporting a recruitment scheme, they would have banged their heads together on this one and ironed out all the possible impediments. Number 2, and this was emphasized by the late General Rawat, the armed forces are not employment scheme. They are not Manrega, I'm sorry. In fact, they should be, and they are, one of the toughest forces and places to gain entry. Only the best should be chosen, and once they are, routinely tested so that they remain the best. It follows that if our military feels that there should be multiple rounds of merit-based competition, by all means, it should be encouraged to implement such a policy. I repeat, you are joining the defense forces, not a government employment scheme like Manrega. Number 3, such recruitment schemes are followed by many nations. India is not an exception. You've already quoted China, Russia, France, and USA. Number 4, the world over, you want the youngest, the fittest, the best to be trained for all future eventualities as begets their fate as well as the fate of the nation. The UPSC and the IITs have a multi-level selection process. So why shouldn't the armed forces? Number 5, as far as the scheme now is concerned, you have a merit-based inclusion, after which you are trained for 4 years, at the end of which you accumulate more than 10 lakhs and you get an opportunity to further compete for a position in the defense forces. For those who do not succeed at this second step, they come out of it with a degree, 10 lakhs, and a glowing certificate of having served the country when so young and inculcated the values of discipline and national service cherished by all Indians. And as many states are now clamoring to, they are saying they are going to induct them in other artillery forces as well. Like for example, CRPF and other Jawans and other police forces. I can't think of better ticks on the CV of a 21-year-old than this. Can you? Number 6. As for those worried that the trained and the battle-ready rejected at the second round would be instead recruited by underworld and terror organizations, I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. As ridiculous as saying, once rejected for the national team for Olympic boxing or shot put, the tens of thousands of pugilists and shot putters would be recruited by stone pelters and thugs. Number 7, let's not go blindly by the naysayers, because remember, their Modi hatred made them oppose even the toilets for the poor. And finally, Rahul, just 30 seconds, 8. A word of caution. Rahul, we have seen how this government repeatedly brings great schemes and policies, but then in reaction to opposition prodding and street violence, hastily retreats. Farm laws being just one glaring example. So who knows? This government might take back this scheme too, which would be a pity.
It would be a pity, and I hope that doesn't happen. And I'm worried that it might be actually being set into process because, viewers, I haven't heard one opposition party coming out and saying this violence is unacceptable. Have you? Have you heard any opposition party making that statement? End the violence? No. Whether it is CAA, whether it is the latest round of protests over blasphemous remarks that were made by Nupur Sharma, allegedly. Number 3, viewers, whether it was the Hanuman Jayanti or the Ram Navami celebrations, no opposition party has come out and said, abjure violence. We won't stand for it. So I'm worried. And the government has caved in. A few flames and the government runs. And I'm worried, viewers, that another policy might actually be consumed by these flames that are being fanned. And I just gave you an example of a political party that is an ally, or at least fought the elections with the RJD and the Congress in Bihar, giving a whole sermon to the youth and saying, join us, and we will protect you. You join us, but be peaceful, join us. Once they are there, viewers, we don't know which way this will go. Dr. Ranganathan, yes, very quickly, I want to bring in Colonel Arson. Yes.
Rahul, even I want to respond.
Yeah, 1 second. Yes.
You want to say something?
No.
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to finish by saying that can I please ask the good Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi one question. Sudhanshu ji, आप जानते हैं जब फार्म लॉज रिपील हुए थे मोदी जी ने क्या कहा था? मैं आपसे पॉइंट ब्लैंक पूछना चाहता हूं कि अब कभी 8 बजे मोदी जी ये तो नहीं कहेंगे कि मैंने आर्म फोर्सेस के लिए ये स्कीम लगाई थी लेकिन मैं देश के हित के लिए स्कीम वापस ले रहा हूं.
Dr. Ranganathan, you have a question in every show.
Okay.
देखिए, फार्म लॉ के अंदर कुछ इस प्रकार के एलिमेंट चले गए थे जो आपको भी दिखाई पड़ रहा था. मैं सिर्फ सिंपल बात कहता हूं, फार्म लॉ का सबसे ज्यादा विरोध कहां हुआ था? पंजाब में. सबसे ज्यादा उस विरोध के साथ कौन खड़ा था? कांग्रेस और अकाली. अब ये देखिए, इसको आप इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट भी कहेंगे. एंड द ओनली गवर्नमेंट विच हैज पास द फॉर्म लॉ इन देयर विधानसभा वाज आम आदमी पार्टी. And what you can say, Aam Aadmi Party swept the poll and Akali Dal and Congress routed. And the biggest leader of the farmers, I am not naming because I do not want to name anybody, he lost his security deposits. And the biggest leader of Uttar Pradesh farmers, उनको अपने गांव में वोट नहीं मिले उतने जितने लोग उनकी पंचायत में आते थे. So that shows the difference between what the ecosystem is projecting and what the ground reality is.
Colonel Arson, can 6 months of training produce good fighters who will lay down their lives for India? I want you to just also think about the Israel model, viewers, before I get you Colonel Arson Singh's response. The country, as you know, is swamped by hostile nations. It has done a fantastic job of defending its borders. It has a conscription system where all adults, women and men, mandatorily have to serve for 32 months and women for 24 months. Post this service, they are put in a reserve list and can be recalled for active duty at any point. And they're only given basic training. All of them don't turn out to be terrorists in the hands of, the Hezbollah to blow up their own country. That doesn't happen. So let's first put that to rest. But on this issue of efficiency, efficacy, courage, motivation, Colonel Arson, over to you.
No, before I give you a specific answer to your specific question, allow me to comment on these visuals, on this demonstration or protests or, arson, violence and arson. Now, I saw this fellow, so-called leader of CPI-ML, which is a semi-political route adopted by the Naxalites. Very close, I have seen them working together at night, right? Now this fellow is, giving a clarion call that everybody should join him, in protest. And now let me tell you what the Naxalites and the CPI-ML has done with the armed forces. They kidnapped an ex-soldier from my unit and took a ransom of 10 lakh from his brother, who is a group captain in the Air Force. His name is R.K. Prashad. This group captain, he went to the DG police, he went to the Jharkhand government, of no avail. And he finally had to arrange the money to get him free. This is the record of CPIML and the brothers, the Naxalite brothers. Air Marshal LaFontaine, Air Chief, kidnapped and robbed by these elements, not once, but twice. In the Red Corridor, the families of our Jawans are not, they are subject to extortion. So if these kind of people are at the forefront of these kind of protests with this kind of an anti-national ideological baggage, I don't want such people. Anybody who is indulging in this kind of an arson and destroying the property of his own country is not recruitable. He is not recruitable. I joined NDA at the age of 16 and a half. I never threw, I've never destroyed, any government property. If I see an unclean toilet, I try to clean it myself in the train. So it requires a lot of character to be a soldier. And I'm sure nobody in this panel, and including the anchor, has ever destroyed government property. Look at the faces of these fellows. Do they look recruitable? I would rather have a man with character for 4 years than to have a characterless fellow for a long haul. Now coming to your specific, answer to your specific question. Is it unprecedented? Nonsense. We have had many schemes. I'll start from Second World War when the British raised an army of 2.5 million, 25 lakhs. They served only for 4 years and they were sent out without pension, without any benefits. They were not rehabilitated by any government. Some of them were in the forefront of the revolt in Punch. Many of them were responsible for lending their military weight for the creation of Pakistan. So this is not unprecedented. The second is, have you forgotten Emergency Commission? Now people, veterans who are listening to me, don't talk nonsense. You recruited people. Do you know, Rahul, that there were pilots who were recruited who didn't fly even 4 hours? And they retired in 80s. Some of them, they never came from home and yet kept getting their pay. And then, you are talking about 4 years is too less, 2 months, how much training, then there will be, and all this. आपका दिल उस समय कहाँ चला गया था जब when you were taking this, officers for 5 years, short service commission from OTA Chennai? I was an instructor in Officers Training Academy Chennai, and within 9 months, I can vouch for my cadets. Most of them are in service. They are doing as well. And then what was your logic then? Because it's a pyramidical structure, so you require a lot of people in the base. So nobody disputed it. And then what you did is that you said that I don't require one OTA, I require more than one OTA. So there was an Officers Training Academy recently opened in Gaya 4 or 5 years back. Now you say these guys, they'll not be trained. 6 months of training is too less. They're not. Arey bhai, जब 5 साल के लिए आप इनको लेते थे, तो उस समय did you feel that these are officers who are going to lead men into war? We have also learnt over the years. Before you do a young officers course, I didn't know most of the things. Before I did my battalion support weapons course, I didn't know about mortars or a medium machine gun or recoilless guns. The second aspect is that he was absolutely right. This is not a Manrega scheme. There are in a ship there are stations, that designated stations. So you require a specific manpower. You can't say that, on this ship I will not have 20, I'll have 40 stations. So your strength is a function of technology. For example, you had this recoilless gun, and this is also an irony, by the way, that we were firing 106 millimeter RCL in 65 war against patent tank, both the weapons, tank and anti-tank systems made by Americans. But what the larger point is that it is technology specific. If you have an anti-tank system, it may require man portable, you may just require one man. So who are you to decide? Who are you to decide? The third aspect is that I am telling you that, a lot of people said, our Jawans come from rural areas and, and all that.
Okay.
अब बताइए कहाँ ये दिल्ली के आसपास rural area का बताइए आप कहाँ पे है rural area? You call a man from Meerut or Ghaziabad from rural area. I come from Bihar. In my village, there are 5 school buses coming every day. There is 24/7 electricity. There is television in every house. Every house has a motorcycle. And when I say this, I say for 90% of the Bihar. So please change your mindset. Your sister news publication just carried out a news that 1,400 engineers have been recruited as sub-inspectors in UP police. Things have changed. The socio-economic conditions have changed.
Okay.
And if we don't bother about the defense budget, then who will?
Okay.
Who will?
I think
ultimately there has to be a defense budget, and there will always be a debate. There will always be a debate between pension salaries and...
Colonel Arson, Sanjay Jha wants to respond to you very quickly, and after that I'm going to move on to the next big subject from the Supreme Court viewers. Yes, very quickly, Sanjay Jha.
Rahul, 2 short points. Number 1, the government, instead of saying I need to create a new scheme for military recruitment to cut down on pensions, should have actually looked at a more dynamic and progressive taxation in India. Number 2, I'm speaking on behalf to it. I'm speaking on behalf of the opposition as well. Number 2, very critical. All the violence that has happened today has happened mostly in BJP-ruled states.
Again,
Bihar,
BJP,
Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, and Uttarakhand.
BJP,
these have happened in BJP-ruled states.
Your own cadre.
It is a spontaneous,
one second, your own cadre today. Don't speak about violence and igniting passions. Have you seen what your own cadre has done? Your own senior leader, Renuka Chaudhary, beating up police officers in Hyderabad? Is that BJP ruled? Listen, let's get off this high horse.
Let me tell you one thing, Rahul.
No, Sanjay Jha, on this point, I don't want this. I don't want anyone to try and rationalize.
The young are restless and angry.
I'm sorry,
because
sir.
They don't have jobs.
I'm sorry, sir.
They don't have jobs.
If you give people the license, your crew today, your Congress crew, is restless and angry because it doesn't have power, and it says that we are going to burn the country, and you've done it successfully. Look at your leaders. There they are on the camera. For what?
Rahul, why are there lady police officers?
Please don't do this. Let's not do this. Let's not make a political meal out of violence.
Mr. Shivshankar,
one second, ma'am.
Still remain.
Everyone needs to speak unitedly to tell any mob to go back home. There is no room for mob violence in our democracy. I've said it once, I've said it many times. We have seen what happens.
We are not talking about
when mobs overrun the streets. We are not Libya under Gaddafi. We are not. Let's not make people think that that is exactly where we are. We are not, viewers. We all have a voice. I'm leaving it at this. Violence, bloodletting, we know what Gandhiji said. We know. The Congress party that has made a hash of the Satyagraha, mocked it, cannot sit here and talk about violence. Should be the last political party to do so. I want to move on, viewers. We have been having, of course, many debates about this issue. Friday fury which sinned Uttar Pradesh was swiftly followed by punishment as bulldozers were pressed into service from Prayagraj to Saharanpur and Kanpur. Yogi's bulldozers razed illegal homes and shops of alleged riot masterminds. The Jamaat-e-Ulema Hind got very uptight about this, shot off a plea to the Supreme Court, calling this targeted and retaliatory action against those who protested in specific Muslims. Today, however, the Yogi Sarkar, the Yogi government, has claimed vindication. The highest court of our land has refused to block the bulldozers for now, while a notice has been served to the state to show how its demolition drive isn't directed towards a specific community. The Supreme Court has not stayed the bulldozer-led demolition drive. It has certainly set down certain conditions which any sane democracy would expect to dish out. What demolitions can't take place without notices, follow due process of law for demolition drives. Such demolitions cannot be retaliatory action, must make sure nothing untoward happens. State is given 3 days time to file objections. The fact that the Supreme Court hasn't stayed the bulldozer drive is being welcomed by the Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh. The Yogi government says that the top court's reluctance to stall the drive proves that the demolition drive was as per law, is as per law, and will be as per law and without discrimination. But despite the court's green light, the opposition still insists that Muslims are being targeted by the Saffron Party. Viewers, let's open this up. Let's ask some basic questions. Why does the opposition think so? Pawan Rao Ambedkar there with us. So is Tehseen Poonawala. Mr. Poonawala, the court hasn't stalled this drive. It has asked some perfunctory questions and set down some directives which are already part and parcel of the procedure. Isn't this a bit of a loss of face for all of those who are siding with, at least purportedly, with the alleged rioters?
Good evening, Rahul. Good evening to you, to all your viewers, and to all my esteemed fellow panelists. At the onset, I'm extremely grateful to the Honorable Supreme Court because it came down heavily like a ton of bricks on the UP government, and it set down the laws and the stringent, and it reread the laws, which the Uttar Pradesh government seems to have forgotten.
Has it stopped the bulldozers?
It cannot stop the bulldozers.
It cannot stop the bulldozers. Why can't it? It did so in Seelampur.
No, in Seelampur also, it did not stop. It said it gave it a break.
No, what do you mean gave it a break? Give it a break? Give it a break was stopping it, right?
No,
how can, no, 1 minute. At that time, all of you were very excited and you asked for Amit Shah's resignation, saying he sent in the bulldozers and the courts have halted them, Amit Shah to go. Now, you say, well, here it can't stop the bulldozers. Why can't it stop the bulldozers? If it's an illegality, they'd stop it.
Rahul, I've understood the question. Let me answer it. Just brief answer. In Delhi, in the Honorable Supreme Court, the demolitions were underway. In this particular case, the demolitions have already taken place. Now, you can't ad hoc stop all demolitions suddenly in Delhi or Uttar Pradesh. That's not happening.
There are more demolitions happening, sir, all around. You are only focusing on Prayagraj. Let me give you the whole score. No, let me give you the whole score because you don't know the facts.
And therefore, how can you stop the entire demolition?
1 second, please. 62 farmhouses razed on June 1, 15 on June 8, 90 farmhouses on floodplains have been razed in 90 days. No one has talked about this, viewers.
But this proves my point.
Tehseen Poonawala, please, excuse me. Let me just finish, please.
Yeah, but allow me to respond.
No Jamaat-e-Ulema, let me at least list the facts for our viewers. No Jamaat organization went rushing there to say stay these illegal bulldozers. You've had illegal property attached to temple demolished, demolition drive in Aminabad area of Lucknow, May 2022. Aminabad.
You're making my point.
1 second, no one went to the courts, viewers. March 2022, Meerut, illegal property of wanted gangster razed. Badan Singh Badu encroached a public park, illegally constructed a factory and a house. It took 2 days. No one moved the courts then. No one moved the courts then, viewers.
But you're making
They moved the court. They moved the court here. They couldn't get a stay. And now are saying that, you see, the Supreme Court couldn't stay it. There will be demolitions. 80 more houses have been marked in the very same areas. And there will be demolitions over the next 2 days.
Great. Now, can I please
That
make
is
my
what
point?
that's what the state government has said.
Okay, can I please quickly make my point, summarize it? You precisely, by reading out this list, make the point that I'm trying to make. Nobody in their right senses can stop demolition which is within the law. What the citizens
Within the law?
of India...
Then why are you moving the courts?
Please allow me to finish. I just take 2 lines. Thank you. What we, the citizens of India, are objecting to is a glorification of the bulldozer against those who've been alleged to have been involved in activities against the government, which is protest. So in this particular case, this house in Prayagraj was not even on the victim's name or the person who's arrested or her father's name, on the mother's name, and the bulldozer was used upon somebody else's house to punish the entire family. Now, this is against Article 21.
The government
right
in
to
court,
life, the right to
the
housing.
government today in court has said action was not specific to one community. So this was not about
But I'm
targeting.
talking
1
about-
minute.
I'm talking about individuals.
Let me finish, sir, please. Because the Jamaat
you are the
raised
one
all these
interrupting
points. Tehseen, please, I beg you. Sir, I beg you. You know a lot more than me. I'm only going by what was said in court. Let me finish. The Jamaat's contentions were retaliatory demolition for the riots, raising homes only of riot accused, cherry picking of demolition action, prior notice of 15 days wasn't given, CM2 said bulldozers are against rioters, action not even during the emergency was seen like this. Jamaat was coming out and saying exactly what Tehseen Poonawalla was saying, that is all illegal, targeted at a community, and targeted to punish, to send out a message to only Muslims.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is what the Supreme Court has
Supreme Court should have been very alarmed.
that.
And they should
It
have
is.
said, sorry, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, we are halting demolitions, number one, even the ones that are going to happen in the next 2 days, the preempted ones. Number two, you must compensate this family.
That
They
will
didn't do
happen.
it. Dr.
That will
Ranganath.
happen. Please, let me just give me 30 seconds, please. I just plead for 30 seconds. That will happen when this case comes to a closure.
Yes.
Today was the first day.
Listen,
Rahul, I
why
just
shouldn't it have
make-
happened today?
How can it?
Do
Because
you think the
state government
Supreme
does not
Court is
put the
going to
facts
allow
across.
an injustice to continue? Are you doubting
It's
the
not,
wisdom of your
because
own
they
Supreme
asked for
Court
3
today?
days to put
Listen,
their side across.
you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Allow them to put their
It's
side
a
across.
bizarre argument.
But
Heads
they
you
didn't
win,
stop
tails you
them doing
lose.
something illegal.
Sorry, I just don't understand. 1 second, Dr. Ranganathan, I'm not understanding the logic here. Maybe I'm thick.
Rahul, there are 4 issues here. Let me just deal with facts. Number 1, the Supreme Court has not stopped the bulldozing, period. It has said there should be no illegal bulldozing. And the UP government asserts that there was no illegal bulldozing. 2, as far as this particular property is concerned of Mr. Javed Pump, ample notice seems to have been given. In fact, on May 10th, the date of hearing for this case, property being illegal, the date was reset for May 24th and a show cause notice was issued to Javed. He refused to accept the notice. It was then pasted on his building. As per the notice served, the owner himself was required to demolish the illegality and inform the PDA within 15 days or by June 9, 2022. This was not done. Now he's playing victim card. Incidentally, half the panelists out here were laughing and giggling and mocking when Kangana's office was illegally demolished by the BMC, as the High Court said, illegal demolition. Number 3, Rahul, the issue is not Hindu-Muslim, as many Hindu properties have also been demolished. The bulldozing of Vikas Dubey's properties being just one example. Strange, isn't it? That all those outraging now were totally silent then. They didn't say Yogi was being communal and selective in demolishing Hindu properties. Yogi has thus far demolished thousands of illegal properties worth 1,752 crores in the last 4 years. Majority of them belong to Hindus. These demolitions are religion agnostic, but your eyes are not. That's the problem. Number 4, Rahul, I have said it multiple times on your shows, and especially after the Khargon stone throwing incident, that revenge bulldozing rioters' homes is, in my view, against natural justice. Tehseen knows it, I've said it. Because even if you want to punish the rioter by demolishing his home, you are punishing also his family, wife and children who are innocent. You can't transfer guilt or culpability in a crime to a relative. That's against natural justice. And even if the government says that the property is being demolished or on encroached land, that still is illegal and against natural justice, because demolishing a home, even if illegal, has to be done after adequate notice according to the High Court, as life and livelihood are at stake. and you violate the 2018 Vishwanath versus BMC SC judgment, just stipulating 15 days notice. But that's not the only judgment. There are multiple High Court and Supreme Court judgments that stipulate a mandatory notice period before which demolition cannot take place of legal or illegal properties. Tellis versus BMT 1985 Supreme Court, Inderjeet Singh 2008 Supreme Court, Bal Kishan 2010 Delhi High Court, Sudama Singh 2017 Supreme Court, Ajay Makan 2019 High Court. Even street vendors operating illegally need to be given a notice. 10 seconds, Rahul, but in this case, as I emphasized, Yogi gave ample notice, and that is what the Supreme Court should be concerned with, the legality of it.
And that's the reason why that it has not been halted or the government hasn't been pulled up. In fact, I believe that that Yogi is doing a great injustice. He's not following through. All good bowlers follow through. He should also be demolishing the homes of those who took money to allow for these encroachments. Till that doesn't happen, viewers, I believe this is one-sided. Don't just punish one side. Go after all, even the corrupt, even your own bureaucrats who have taken the money to sanction all these encroachments. Pawan Rao Ambedkar, revenge bulldozing, out of the question. The Supreme Court doesn't see it as revenge bulldozing. You were trying to create a fake narrative and incite passions. I'm told that Mr. Masood, I can't go to him, Masood ul Hassan, because his video is jittery and we can't hear him. So we won't be able to go to him today. I'll bring in Karan Verma right after Ambedkar. Mr. Ambedkar, go ahead.
I think Dr. Ranganathan is playing a good role as a spokesperson of BJP. So the reality is this. He told no illegal bulldozing is going on. Listen.
It doesn't surprise me anymore.
Dr.
They don't come prepared. Then you say what you have to say. No, one second. Let me clarify one thing.
You have to join the BJP and you have to become the spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party.
लेकिन आप पर्सनल क्यों होते हैं?
Don't have the real information regarding the Javed pump.
किताबें आपने पढ़ ली हैं.
See the reality.
किताबें आपने पढ़ ली हैं कि आपने लॉजिक को और रैशनल को खिड़की से बाहर फेंक दिया है. अपने बात कहिए ना. और उनका नाम क्यों ले रहे हैं भाई? मैंने आपका नाम लिया.
No, that's why I'm telling.
Ambedkar ji, did I take your name?
No, I don't know. I don't, but you are.
You rebut my point. You rebut my point. आप मुझे ये कहिए कि आनंद रंगनाथन आप फैक्चुअल नहीं बोल रहे थे. आप बोलिए ये. Tell me, rebut my points.
The same
rebut
thing.
Even a single point. I made 9 points. देखिए मैं तैयार होके आता हूँ. आपकी तरह पान खा के टहलता हुआ नहीं आ जाता हूँ स्टूडियो में.
अरे तैयार हम भी हैं.
इतनी शौकीन है.
सुन लीजिए.
तो आप पान शॉप पे जाके खाइए ना.
That's why I'm telling.
स्टूडियो में प्रिपेयर
comparing you. That's why I'm comparing you with the BJP spokesperson. That's why I'm comparing you with the BJP spokesperson. Because both persons are telling them.
Is there any point to this?
Rahul,
let better inside a BJP spokesperson.
The man had 2 minutes.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm lowering everyone's faders. Let me go across now to Mr. Karan Verma. Mr. Verma, where do you come in on this?
Rahul, you know, today the Supreme Court refused to halt the bulldozer, and I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you why. This bulldozer did not appear from nowhere. Let me just trace back the roots. Back in 2007, the Supreme Court took cognizance of the various hartals, protests that were happening rampantly. And they formed 2 committees, one under Justice Thomas and the other under Advocate Fariman. And the recommendations of those 2 reports, which the Supreme Court enunciated in its 2009 judgment, Destruction of Private and Public Property versus State of Andhra Pradesh, were that 2 things are most important. One is the identification of the rioters or the alleged rioters, and the second is the compensation of the damages. And I'm so glad today that the UP government actually followed through on these recommendations, and they started this whole thing of recovery of damages caused and the naming and shaming through the posters. And it's not just naming and shaming, it's identification, which is the first part of an investigation. Rahul, we have the section 82 and 83 of CRPC, which also mandates the attachment of property in case the accused is an absconder. But it's not just a legal point I'm here to make. I'm here to make a fact that
Today we are confronted with a binary, Rahul. Either we have the Hemant Soren model where you capitulate in the face of adversity and don't stand for the law enforcement officers, or you have the Yogi model today, which will deal with the miscreants with an iron fist, yet in a velvet glove. I think it's time the country moved on and be united with a common creed of law and order, which is supreme. Let's not appease anyone, but the common man needs to be appeased.
I understand. The law must be upheld, but also, viewers, justice must also be seen to be done. And as long as that is happening, the Supreme Court is not going to step in. That's the reason why the Supreme Court didn't step in today, viewers. That's the basic fact. That's the bottom line. There's no other reason. Because to impute another reason would be to be in contempt, or worse, hold the SC in contempt. I'll leave it at that.
Times now. Action begins here.
When I see young Rahul Gandhi to go and stand with the Naxal supporting students, Tukde gang, give them ideological, emotional support, to stand with all those, sir, please trust me, there are pictures, there are photographs. He went there, he went to JNU, supported them. Rahul Gandhi is always found standing with the enemies of India. Slowly your party has started sounding as if you are absolutely anti-Hindu. And when I came to UK, people feel your party is now becoming anti-India. Please don't give me any explanation. Sir, I'm requesting it. Don't give me any answer. Just pass on this message to the great grandson of the great Kashmiri Pandit Shri Jawaharlal Nehru, so that he understands that he should not stand with anybody who picks up guns, violence and terrorizes a community which is a minority in Kashmir. Thank you. I have to go, Rahul. Please excuse me.
Well, I'm not going to come in anyone's way. I'll close this debate. We leave it at that.
You go. See, you heard, you said something. I have to say something as well. Or otherwise, you have rules by which.
No, say, finish, sir. Finish.
I'll wait.
Pass judgment on my party. No, what do you mean finish? What do you finish? You let somebody say something and you don't let me answer. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Please take it that I'll never come back to your program if this is the manner in which you will function. I'll never come back. You've made a whole statement has been made at the end of the program and you haven't allowed me to reply.
You said you wanted to hear from Mr. Agnihotri.
I have the social media. I'm going to
No, please go ahead. Finish. We haven't finished. Finish. Make your response, sir.
Mr. Agnihotri to pass judgment. So please take my response.
I am.
My response is that Mr. Agnihotri, it's your point of view. I'm giving you my response. This may be Mr. Agnihotri's point of view. This is not a point of view to which I can accept. What happened because of the attacks of the extremists in the state in which they destroyed many of our leaders has nothing to do with students who have an ideology in JNU or any other college. Now,
no, sir, you are wrong. You are sir. They celebrated the killing of 76 CRPF jawans. Sir, please, the same students celebrated the killing of 76.
I'm sorry.
Why are you defending these students?
Take it from me. If anybody celebrated the death of our leaders, at the hand of extremists, I am saying to you, they are betrayers of this land and they are betrayers of humanity. I am saying
thank you. So which means Rahul Gandhi is a betrayer.
Times now. Action begins here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Unprecedented scenes were seen across at least 7 states in the country, mostly those states that are referred to as the Hindi heartland. Protesters hitting out on the streets in anger against the Agnipath scheme, launched by the centre just 2 days ago. The violence was witnessed witness to palpable resentment among the youth, many of whom are aspirants wanting to be a part of our armed forces. They are now under the impression that the new scheme is going to replace the old one, and with it would disappear the dream of a prestigious, stable army job that would reap benefits after they discharge, as well as in terms of pension. The protests were violent right from the states that we saw, be it Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, Haryana, or even Madhya Pradesh. The worst hit was Ara to Jahanabad, to Motihari and Munger in Bihar, where protesters took law into their own hands and vandalized public property. They burned tires and roads on railway tracks. They also set ablaze police vehicles and in some places grievously injured men in khaki as they tried to get the situation under control. Train bogies were set on fire in some places as well. The anger was directed at the centre, and it was evident when the BJP came under attack in Bihar. In a state where the BJP is in power in alliance with the JDU, they had to face the wrath of these people the most. Even in Nevada, the party office was ransacked and set ablaze, and one of their MLAs also attacked. Listen in to her recalling the petrifying sequence of events in Bihar.
आज हम लोग के साथ घटना हुआ, हम लोग आ रहे थे नवादा, और नवादा में हम लोग के पता नहीं था कि इस तरह के मैंने सब अच्छी धरना दिया हुआ है, चाहे तो ऊपर कर रहा है, हम लोग के पते नहीं था कि हल्ला हंगामा हो रहा है, तो हम नहीं आते। हम लोग अचानक आए, उसके बाद झंडा बोर्ड नोच के फेंक दिया और ईंटा पत्थर बरसाने लगा पूरा। अभी भी ईंटा जो है 3-4 गो गाड़ी के अंदर है, शीशा पूरा चूर दिया, बॉडी चूर दिया, गाड़ी के अंदर बांस है और गार्ड के चोट लगा, ड्राइवर के लगा, हम लोग के लगा, इतना ने ईंटा बरसाने लगा ने कि कुछ कह नहीं सकते। प्रशासन के तो एसपी साहब ने किए 2 घंटा हो गया फोन करने,
तो कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं मिला,
और वो बोले कि ठीक है हम डीएसपी साहब से बात करते, तो हम ही लोग भी सुरक्षित है, तो हम पर भी क्या सुरक्षित रहेंगे।
Now, what has led to this anger spilling onto the streets today? Is it the lack of clarity or is it misinformation? Is it that the government has not been able to pass on the message successfully to the last man on the ground? Well, the opposition firmly believes that this scheme is disastrous and must be withdrawn. The Congress even warning and hitting the streets in protest until the decision was revoked. The BJP on its part is putting out facts to dispel any doubts. BJP chief ministers have even come out to promise preferential jobs for Agniveers in state police forces and disaster management agencies. The protests continue as of now, so does the politics. Listen in to the war of words.
देखिए, हम मांग करते हैं कि सरकार तुरंत प्रभाव से जो अग्निपथ भर्ती योजना लेके आई है इसको वापस ले, क्योंकि ये योजना रंजीता जी ना तो देश की सुरक्षा के हित में है, ना ये योजना देश हित में है और ना ये योजना जो नौजवान जो फौज में भर्ती होंगे उनके भविष्य के हित में है। 17.5 साल में भर्ती होगी, 21-22 साल में लोग वापस आएंगे। पहला साल ट्रेनिंग में जाएगा, आखिरी 1-2 साल इस चिंता में जाएगा कि आगे क्या करेंगे। ये जो रिक्रूटमेंट की पॉलिसीज़ हैं जिससे इतना व्यापक रोष हो रहा है पूरे देश में नौजवान में, इन बातों को लेकर संसद में एक दिन की चर्चा, विशेष तौर पे जब संसद का सत्र शुरू हो, राजनीति से ऊपर उठकर इन चीज़ों पे चर्चा होनी चाहिए।
छात्रों के लिए, युवाओं के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी उपयोगी योजना है। इसमें लाखों रोजगार के अवसर भी प्रदान होंगे, साथ साथ राष्ट्रभक्ति का भी जागृति होगा। देश के युवा शक्ति को रोजगार मिल रहा है, सुनहरे अवसर प्रदान किए जा रहे हैं, तो उन्हें भड़काने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है।
And that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Can the centre douse this Agni? That's the question. Agnipath fire. That's the hashtag and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me live and direct on the Newshour tonight is General V.K. Singh, Union Minister, as well as former Army Chief General V.K. Singh. Good evening and thank you for joining me on the Newshour tonight. My question is, why are youngsters so agitated in 7 states, as we've seen visuals coming in from their protests that are happening? Is there miscommunication? Is there misinterpretation? Or is the issue of what happens after 4 years something that's bothering these young people who aspire for a job in the armed forces?
Navika, let me start by saying there is misinformation campaign launched by politicizing the whole issue. I just heard you saying some of the opposition people are saying, why didn't we go out and start telling people? Is each scheme of the government brought out to be told, especially about the army? Let me take you back. We had an emergency commission which started in 61. People fought in 62. Did the government announce it? We started with the short service commission. Did the government announce it? Government has announced a short-term measure for enrolling the youth, and youth which is voluntary. Let me emphasize this word. This army of ours is voluntary, and a voluntary army which is delivered results right through our various confrontations that have taken place. Where is the doubt? If anybody wants to go to the army voluntarily, please go. Let's say in the earlier scheme also, for each vacancy, there were at least 100 candidates. Some people didn't get selected. Some people got selected. Some people blamed the system. But did the political parties get involved in it? No. They didn't get involved in it. What I see, it is not about Agnipath and Agniveer scheme. It's all about what is happening in front of the ED. Most of the things have been orchestrated to create a scene as if the scheme is bad. This is not a land acquisition scheme. This is not a scheme in which something else is being done. It is a way that is being opened for short-term entry of the youth. You asked very rightly, what happens after 4 years, right? What happens after 4 years? Some people will be discharged, 75%. 25% will get a chance to serve the army. Those who have been found better than the others. So there is a spirit of competition that has been, injected into the whole system. 6 months training, he gets his pay. Every month he gets his pay. At the end of the tenure, he gets a Seva Nidhi of 11.7 crores. He goes back home with a particular bank balance. And already, and I'm underlining that word, Haryana, UP and the Home Ministry have said that they will give opportunity to these people who come out because they're trained manpower. Nowhere you will get a trained manpower. Nowhere you will get people who are motivated. Nowhere you will get people who are ready to do a job when others can't do it. You will get that kind of manpower. Instead of creating ripples and allowing people to go and burn trains and all other things, it would have been in fitness of things if all these so concerned people, I heard a lot of senior politicians speaking, a lot of chief ministers speaking. Can't they do the same thing which Haryana, UP and the Home Ministry has done? Announce that they will give opportunity in their police forces to all this trained manpower? No, they don't want to do it because they want people to be on the streets. They want to incite them to go and burn trains, to burn buses. And as a former army man who spent 42 years in the army, anybody who's involved in it, I don't think he's got the right mentality to join the army.
Well, General V.K. Singh, I also want to ask you the question. People who enter the armed forces through the Agnipath and become Agniveers, is that the only way of entering the armed forces, or the other exams which were held, which many people in Bihar are saying they have been training for years, spending money in passing the physical examination, the tests, the medicals, etc. Is that going to continue parallelly? That is the question that seems to be on the minds of many of these youth who are on the streets.
Let me say very clearly to all the youth, if you want to enter the army, the system remains the same. We will test you, we'll physically check you, we'll medically examine you. You are not coming here for a picnic. You're coming to serve the army, which is tough. You will go to difficult terrain. You will do difficult things. And that is why we want fit people. All those conditions still apply. And if a person has been training, let's say for some time, let him show his worth when the recruitment starts. Where is the doubt? I really don't know. The doubt is, I think, look here, my age is now more than 22 or 21. Well, that happens in all government jobs. If the date is gone because there was COVID and we didn't do any recruitment, it's just too bad. It's just too bad. Now you can't go back and say, no, I will take people who missed out and I'll take a person of 23-year age or more. It doesn't happen. Nowhere does it happen. Nowhere in the world it happens. I mean, why talk of India? Nowhere in the world it happens. So let's, not create a situation which I find a lot of people are creating. I think there's a need to understand the system. And I would also say a scheme has just started. Not even first recruitment has taken place. Let it start. Let's see how it goes. Course corrections in all schemes take place. After all, you would recall we had a short service commission. We started with 5 years. A person served for 5 years. After that, he went back. He didn't get any pension. He didn't get any medical facilities. But did it lower their motivation? No. They performed excellently. So it is not a question of the money. It's not a question of, this is not a government job in the sense where you go there to get that safety that, okay, I'll put a proxy here and I'll go and do my dukaan somewhere else. No, it is not like that. So it is, we need to look at what things are and not turn them around to suit our political system.
Well, General VK Singh, a video of yours is going very viral, where you were seen a little on the fence about the scheme, I think just yesterday. And you said that you hadn't seen the scheme, you weren't consulted on the scheme. I want to ask you, put a hand on your heart and say, with such talent in the government, sitting inside a former army chief, were you not consulted when this policy was made?
Navita, let me tell you what I told the journalists, and I told them that you will quote me wrong. Okay. What I told them was, look here, each department has its own system. I'm in road transport and highways and aviation. It's not my job to meddle with what MOD is doing. MOD and the Raksha Mantri have got 3 chiefs available for the type of advice that they want. Why do you want to push me into it? I'm doing a particular job, I'll do my job well. If I was in MOD, I would have given my advice. So what I told them was that everybody is not consulted. How the whole thing has started, I won't know, because it started somewhere in some other department. I only know what the finished product is. This is what I told them, and then I told them you will quote me wrong. And I was not wrong.
So the general is right, the politician is right, it's the media that gets it wrong. Is that right?
No. What happens is, you understand what is happening. You are paying attention. Some of the people in a crowd, what they're hearing is what they want to hear. You ask me a question, why weren't you consulted? I mean, if you don't know the system of the government, then that's a wrong question. Well, in the government, every department is responsible for the type. Do we consult everybody in the government that we want to make a road from Delhi to Amritsar? No. So if I was to ask somebody, hey, weren't you consulted for this road alignment going from Delhi to Amritsar? And if he says no, then it will be wrong.
Fair enough. General VK Singh, I want to ask you this. As an army man, today, take off your politician's hat and tell me, some former defense experts, former army personnel have come out and said that the 6-month training may not just be enough for these Agniveers to be, very well in a position to defend the country in strategic locations like maybe on the Indo-China border or the Indo-Pakistan border. And some of them say, what happens to the commanding officers if they have 80% of people who are, regular army men who have gone through rigorous training and have 20% of a workforce which are the Agniveers? They won't be able to use these 20% in combat situations, in confrontation situations. Do you share their fear?
Navika, the problem is, a lot of times we create a cloud. Let me explain it to you. The normal training that a soldier receives is 1 year as recruitment. After that, he goes to unit. He's still raw. 1 year is just enough for him to understand things. The rest of the training occurs when he's in the unit. And training is constant. It doesn't stop. You can't say that, in 2 years' time, he's become very well trained. This army, you constantly train if you want to be a good soldier. Training never finishes. learning never finishing. Secondly, if I was to go by this analogy, why will somebody who got an EC commission, 3 months training, emergency commission officer, they do not perform well? All these people who are saying about this, I would like to ask it's a very simple question. They performed well. They performed well in trying conditions, and they were discharged after 2 years or 3 years. Did they say, I didn't get pension? No. Let's take short service commission. 9 months training. Did he not perform well? Performed well. They delivered the results. If they had to capture a height, they captured the heights. Even in that capture, he died. So let's not get tied down to a bogey just because we want to prove our point. Training is a constant factor. 6 months training breaks him into the system. After that, the unit will take care. If unit wants to use him for something useful, unit will ensure that the person is trained.
Well said, General V.K. Singh. Extremely enlightening conversation there. And thanks for speaking on all the controversies surrounding this new scheme, the Agnipath scheme put out by the government. Hopefully, it will clear a lot of cobwebs and myths that people have begun to believe in even before testing out the scheme. Thank you very much, General V.K. Singh, for joining me on the News Hour. Going across to my other guest, joining me on the debate tonight, Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the ORF. Also joining me tonight is Syed Faisal Ali, Spokesperson of the RJD, Ghanshyam Tiwari, Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Riju Datta, National Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. But my first question goes to Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. Straight charge from General V.K. Singh. The Congress is trying to distract attention away from the ED, picking up and inciting people in various parts of the country to come onto the streets, and helped by other political parties as well.
At the onset, while General V.K. Singh is not listening to the debate, I would like to thank him for his services to the country. It is because of people like him we are safe, despite my political opposition to him. And I'd like to ask some very, very specific questions of both Sushantji or Sanju Vermaji, who are present here today. There are 3 very specific questions and charges that I have. Number 1, and this is the most important question, that why did we not have a pilot project for this? Today, the government is saying, look, they will be recruited in either the Uttar Pradesh police or the Haryana police or the central forces. You could have done a pilot project to see how this pans out, whether the recruitment process works out or it doesn't work out. So my first charge is that there is no job guarantee once this tenure ends of 4 years, or actually 3 years. The second part is this 100% recruitment, 75% people will be let off and 25% people will be retained. Now, how does the army guarantee, because they've not spoken about the transparency of this process, how do they guarantee that this 25% that is retained is not due to either corruption or due to political pressure that comes onto the people who are recruiting these people, and there is no unionization as a result of that? And the third and very important process that I want to ask is, once these people retire, okay, you'll give them 10, 11, 12 lakh rupees, but that is not sufficient to start a life by itself, because you've broken your education and you've not acquired new skills in the time while you were in the army to be recruited in a skill job. Why doesn't the government in such a case then come out with a skill development program, an interest-free program, an interest-free loan, so at least these people who've left after 4 years can acquire some sort of skill? The onset is, this is a project that has been announced to manage headlines. There is absolutely no pilot project, and we are heading towards a disaster. We have 2 lakh vacancies in the army, and the government has not filled even that in so far.
Would you want to respond to that, Sushant Sareen?
Yeah, so on the 3 questions which Tehseen has asked, I think this one about the job guarantee and how people will be picked up out of that 70, the 25%. I think that's a bit of a red herring. Number 1, there is no job guarantee anywhere. But in this particular case, there is a scheme where there will be
some absorption, about 25%, and those people will be picked up on the basis of their performance. In the army, for example, there is a constant evaluation which happens of both the officers as well as the men. To say that, you know, it will be done on the whims and fancies of somebody and there will be not some kind of a system on the basis of which you will pick up the, you know, the top 25% who will be given the option of staying on in the army and you will let go of the rest. So I don't think that's a matter of great concern. What happens to the other 75%? I think some of them are likely to be absorbed in CAPFs and others. But I agree with Tehseen that there can be and there should be, and as General VK himself indicated, you know, you can probably tweak this thing and you can add something to this program going forward, which means that yes, if there is some kind of a system that after 4 years, there's some kind of skill development, scheme for the guys who are going to be demobilized. I think there is merit in that particular suggestion. The second thing Tehseen spoke about was, on the 12 lakhs. Look, maybe 12 lakhs is not too much for somebody like Tehseen or maybe for me or you, Navika, but for a vast majority of people who will join the army through this scheme, to get out of the army after 4 years with 12 lakhs of rupees helps them to start some kind of work. They can buy a tractor, they can buy, they can probably open a small shop, they can do many things if they want to do it. There is a corpus available to them which would not be there for them if they were not going to be part of this scheme. Number 2. And the third thing which Tehseen asked was on the pilot project. Well, that's an argument that can be made, that could there have been a pilot project? Again, for how long would that pilot project have gone on? Would it have gone on for 4 years, 8 years to see how the whole thing works? The government in its wisdom has decided that they will go forward with this particular scheme. Now, they will probably have to make some adjustments, some tweaking here and there to make the scheme more effective and more palatable. But for the people who are indulging in arson, rioting, I think they don't deserve to join the army in any case. I can understand some people feeling left out. I can understand some people feeling a little shortchanged. But for them to go and indulge in arson and indulge in a behavior following the Jinnah dictum that we will either rule India or destroy it, these are people who are saying we will either join the army or burn the country down. But how crazy is that? I can understand that, people will want to protest, people will demand some changes be made in the scheme. They will try and see that if people who have been left out because of COVID and others get a chance. But whether that happens or not is anybody's case. And one final point, Navika, a lot of people have been raising this issue in general. VK Singh also mentioned, the number of months of training. Look, the US Marine Corps trains, the basic training which is given before people are inducted in the Marine Corps is, I believe, 13 weeks, which is just over 3 months or just about 3 months, right? You are training somebody for 6 months. Once these people have finished 4 years, you have a trained manpower and training will continue. So, people are just jumping the gun on this thing. Let us see how this scheme works out.
That's the biggest point.
If there are problems, I'm sure there will be fixes which will be brought in.
That's the point. And Riju Datta, are political parties jumping to conclusions even before giving any time for the scheme to be unfolded, to come out? There are states which have come out and said, there's the Home Minister who's come out and said that CAPF will take these people. Are people in a hurry, but suna nahi, and on the street and start burning things? Is that really going to help anything in this country? You can take any decision. There is a new scheme that comes out. It will take time for it to filter down, for things to happen, and nothing is set in stone. Allow something to begin and it can be tweaked. Why are political parties so agitated, especially in this case? Can they hold themselves back? Because we're talking about the defense services and this is nobody's game, least of all a political game.
2014. Navika ji, first of all, post 2014, schemes after schemes we have seen in this country where the union government has made a mockery of people's lives. For God's sake, a soldier cannot be part-time. He trains half his life and then he spends rest of the life guarding our borders and our motherland. A soldier is our pride and glory, and you want to make him a contractual employee? The problem why we see rioting on the streets and India is burning today is because tens of crores of youths are jobless in this country. Why? Because all the institutions that used to recruit the most amount of youth, like the SAIL, BHEL, LIC, Indian Railways, everything is being sold off. Everything is privatized. There is no jobs. So basically what has happened in this country is that, Modi ji and the Modi Sarkar has become like that Turkish ice cream man when it comes to jobs for the youth. First they said 2 crores, then the finance minister on the floor of the parliament said 12 lakh jobs in 5 years, that is 60 lakhs. Now it has come down to 10 lakhs in 1.5 years, and now you have to give contractual employment for the armed forces. Come on. The people of this country want jobs, the youth want jobs, the soldiers who are those who protect us, you cannot play with the soldiers with some fictional movie that you see. Agnipath may be a movie that you like, but you cannot play with the lives of our youth for that. 17.5, you are recruiting somebody, putting a gun in his hand after training him for 6 months and sending him to the borders. And after 4 years, what Mr. Sareen said, that with 12 lakh rupees he can buy a tractor. मतलब एक दिन में वो देश का सेना है और दूसरे दिन उनको आप किसान बनाओ या चौकीदार बना दोगे, और किसान का भी तो हिस्सा आपने छीन लिया है. तो ये क्या तमाशा चल रहा है? What is the drama? And thank God now again India is burning after 3 days, but BJP cannot blame the Muslims regarding this.
BJP, sorry, what's the last bit that you said? I get very scared what people say, when I'm already asking the next guest. क्या बोला आपने?
I know, I can understand. मैंने ये बोला है कि India is again burning within a span of barely 3 days, and BJP this time round can't blame the Muslims for it.
Okay. Sanju Verma, respond.
Navika, first things first. Point number 1, the existing military recruitment structure is not being dismantled. For anyone who wants to retire from the Indian Army, you still have to sit for competitive exams. You still have to sit for the UPSC. And if you clear the UPSC, you clear the selection board criteria, you clear the physical fitness exam, you can be a part of the National Defense Academy in Pune, or the Officers Training Academy in Gaya, or the Military Training Academy in Dehradun. And once you are a member of either of these, you can be a part of the Permanent Commission of the Indian Army, which basically means you can retire till you are of a certain age, 60 years in this case. All that the government is doing is adding another layer to the entire structure of recruitment to make the Indian Armed Forces leaner, fitter, more competitive. I want to ask one simple question. What is the normal age at which an eligible adult in India usually gets a job, be it in the government or the private sector? It is anywhere between 21 to 22 years of age. So, the Modi government is saying that prior to that, at 17.5, you have the option of getting into a 4-year contractual agreement whereby you will be given world-class training, you will be imparted discipline, you will be imparted the requisite skill set, and after 4 years, you have the option, and the government on the basis of merit will also have the option to decide whether you can be a part of the regular armed forces cadre. And you have also the option after 4 years to pursue an alternative career. You might want to become a doctor, an engineer, a company secretary, a chartered accountant, what have you. Now, I will focus on one important thing which V.K. Singh told you, Navika. I am not somebody who suffers from persecution complex. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. But chronology samajhiye. Be it GT Road in Bulandshahr, be it Buxar in Bihar, be it places like Rewari in Haryana, Unnao in Uttar Pradesh, or National Highway 83 near Jehanabad. Have you seen the crowd that was protesting against Agnipath? Did they from any angle look like people who want to be recruited into the armed forces? Any sane-minded individual with even basic common sense knows if you're an armed forces aspirant, you are not going to be pelting stones, you are not going to be vandalizing trains, You're not going to be burning train bogies. You're not going to be indulging in arson, looting. So this is a coordinated conspiracy by who? Do I need to say that tomorrow the scion of the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, will be facing the enforcement directorate again? Kahin pe nigah hai, kahin pe nishana. And I will end by
Sanju Verma, I don't think you are updated. He's taken leave of absence and he's going to appear only on Monday. So let's not get into these conspiracy theories. And if you are saying what did these people look like, would you elaborate? कौन थे ये लोग? आपको पता होना चाहिए. कौन थे?
Navika ji, let me finish my last point and the most important point. Before coming to your debate, I dug up the data. Which are the states which have the highest per capita recruitment into the armed forces? It is Himachal Pradesh at 402. 402 Indians per every million. Second is Upfront at 271 Indians per every million. Third is Jammu Kashmir region at 185 per million. Fourth is Punjab at 174 per million. Mizoram at 139 per million. And Arunachal Pradesh at 122 per million. The top 6 states which recruit massively and employ or deploy people into the armed forces. Have you seen rioting there? Have you seen rioting?
Very good point made by Sanju Verma. Respond. I'm coming to all of you, Tehseen, Riju Datta, but first I want to get in Ghanshyam Tiwari. Very important statistics being given by Sanju Verma ji there, and she's given you which are the states that recruit the most, and these arson and these stone pelting hasn't happened in those states. What does that prove, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari?
Good evening, Navika ji, to you, fellow co-panelists, as well as the viewers. There are 3 things that are very important. One, the youth of India do not trust Mr. Modi and his government that these people are going to provide jobs to the youth. They believe that these people are going to create jumlas and take away those jobs, and as a result, they protest. They have seen what has happened in the case of railways. Particularly in the case of Indian armed forces, to the parliament, the same government has replied, and I'm quoting Rajnath Singh's reply and his deputy Ajay Bhatt's reply, that said that typically 9700 recruitment rallies used to happen for armed forces recruitment in 2018 and 19. That dropped down to 57, and then last year it was just 4 recruitment rallies. So they have significantly dropped down the recruitment of youth in Indian armies, and that is where there has been articles written about it. While the government has say in Parliament that the number of vacancies in Indian Defence Forces is near 1 lakh. This is vacant positions across the 3 forces we have. So clearly a government that said that आप 40,000 का loan ले लीजिए and you become a job creator, you are Atmanirbhar, that is Mudra loan. Not a single document of this government proves that Mudra loan created jobs. The government that said that there is an Atmanirbhar package of 20 lakh crore that create job in the course of pandemic, that did not create job. The government that is saying right now that we have this Agnipath scheme that will enable the 70 to 21-year-old do not believe that is jobs. Rather contrary, the youth in Bihar, in Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and other parts believe that this is another
conmanship by this government, and in fact, JDU, which is an alliance partner in this government at the central level and the state level, has officially advised this government to roll back scheme. You are asking General VK Singh whether he was consulted.
What's your point? What's your point, Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari? Are you saying that this scheme proves that Modi is the most unpopular leader and he just wins elections every now and then despite being most unpopular? What are you trying to say?
If you say that again and again for 2 years that I'll create 2 crore jobs every year, and your net job report card says that you have taken away jobs. The youth today remain unemployed. You've taken away jobs from railways. The railways reported that they have reduced over 76,000.
But do you want the defense forces to be a job creation scheme? Sanju Verma, are they looking at this entire scheme from the wrong lens? They expect this to be a Rozgar Yojana?
You know, Navika, what I fail to understand is that nowhere has the government said that the Indian armed forces is being treated as an employment exchange. We are simply adding another layer to the recruitment process. As VK Singh told Navika a couple of minutes back, you have the permanent commission where you can serve till you are eligible for retirement. You have the short service commission, which initially had a period of 5 years was the entire length of the short service commission, which was eventually raised to 10 years with another option of a 4-year extension. So this process is a dynamic and evolving one. And I just want to say one thing to Ghanshyam Tiwari. ये जो बार-बार बेरोजगारी की बातें आ रही हैं, Ghanshyam Tiwari, I'm willing to be held accountable. As per EPFO data, every month India adds 1.3 million new subscribers, 13 lakh new subscribers. तो 8 साल में कितने हो गए? 12.48 crore new subscribers if you do the math. 12.48 crore people have actually benefited directly or indirectly from Modi government's formal employment schemes. And Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, you forget that under the Mudra Yojana, 19 lakh crore has been given to you know how many people? 34.42 crore individuals. तो ये 34 करोड़ लोग जो आज आत्मनिर्भर हो गए हैं थैंक्स टू मुद्रा योजना, इनको आप क्या कहेंगे? अनएम्प्लॉयड और सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड एंड सेल्फ रिलायंट? Please answer that.
Well, very, you can't fault her on the data that she's got, and if you don't have any data to give to counter her, then I think she settled the debate on that score. But let me get in Syed Faisal Ali. फैसल अली साहब, ये सबसे ज्यादा बिहार में आगजनी क्यों हो रही है? Why are we seeing arson visuals coming in? People are burning trains. Are these the people, and that's the question I want to ask you, are these people fit to go to army if they were to, if they are participating in these kind of activities of burning trains and creating road blockages? Because the armed forces is a place where discipline is of the highest importance. I want to ask you this.
Well, Navika, you should ask this question to the BJP spokesperson, because the state is ruled by BJP and JDU. We are in the opposition. We are the major opposition party in Bihar. The problem in Bihar is that Bihar, of course, is underdeveloped state, and a lot of people look at army for job. And if you remember, in January, similar situation happened in Bihar when there was some problem due to railway recruitment crisis. Same number of people came on the street, and the same amount of contempt which we see now when the BJP spokesperson was addressing, we saw then. The problem is that this is not the misinterpretation of misinformation reaching to the people. The problem is that the people of Bihar or people of these states where unemployment rate is higher than other states in the south, they don't trust this government. Their anger, their frustration, their joblessness, these are all the is being manifested in today's agitation. You cannot corner Bihar, and you cannot look at Bihar from different yardsticks. It's not only in Bihar, it's happening in Haryana, it's happening in your most loved state, Uttar Pradesh, it's happening in all the states where BJP is ruling. So first of all, please blame right persons who are ruling the state. Secondly, I condone the violence, but as far as protest is concerned, you must realize that why these protests are taking place. We are not addressing the root cause. All these learned panelists, I think they know much more than Mr. VK Singh, who was an army chief. You see what he was saying in tongue-in-cheek. I think the BJP spokesperson is a sociologist, is a political scientist, is a military analyst, all in one. The problem is that when you start wearing all the hats and all the caps on one person, these problems arises. You have asked this question to General VK Singh, that he admitted that he has not been consulted. This is a very normal practice, that if an expert is at home, you check with him, you confirm about your policies, you try to understand pros and cons of the policy before launching it. But he has not been consulted.
Sanju Verma ji, I will have to request you not to speak over other people. I will give you a chance, but let's not speak over each other where I can't make out what is being said and whether what is being said is parliamentary or not. So please, I'll come back to you for a rebut. Yes, Mr. Ali.
No, it is parliamentary. No. Let me finish. What is the problem with this government? Whenever it comes with any new scheme, is this we are celebrating 75 years of our independence, and we have seen many governments. But what is the problem with this government? That whenever it comes with any scheme or any law, they came up with farm laws, and the farmers came on the street and they said they don't understand the law. They came up with demonetization. Still the economists are wondering what happened with the demonetization. They came up with so many other things. Now they have come up with a new scheme for recruitment in the army, and those who are aspiring to join army, they are saying that they don't understand. The problem is that the government of India, the present government of India, is not understanding the problem, the root cause of unemployment. They are not addressing the youth. They are addressing only Ambani, Adani, and the higher
okay, all right. We are back to rhetoric. Sanju Verma, I'm coming to you. But I first want to get in Sushant Sareen. Sushant Sareen, have the opposition parties tasted blood just because the farm laws was rolled back and they see yet another opportunity? I'm asking you whether this has become another political opportunity for the opposition to try their luck to put the BJP on the back foot.
Look, the opposition is entitled to protest everything. It's a Pavlovian response. Regardless of what or how good a scheme will be, the response of the opposition is going to be exactly what it is right now. And I suspect that there is some amount of, provocation coming from the opposition side to some of these crowds in the kind of arson and rioting which is happening. But I don't have any evidence to say that, but I think one can sense something like that. I have a point of correction to make on what Sanju Verma has been saying. She has confused the recruitment in the army of people in the officer rank and people below officer rank.
Yes.
In the officer rank, yes, there is the IMA, there is the NDA, there is the OTA. But in people below officer rank, I think that is where this new scheme has come in, and it's a tectonic shift. It's still not very clear, because even what General VK Singh said didn't make it very clear. I don't think that the old scheme of recruitment operates anymore. I think this scheme is replacing it. Now, some amount of reaction in the public is understandable. If they don't understand, that's understandable, because a 200-year-old scheme is now being changed to a new thing. And there are valid reasons for that, including financial, including military, and including technical reasons for going in for this new scheme. To say that just because General VK Singh was not consulted, nobody was consulted, and Mr. Modi or Mr. Rajnath Singh got up one fine day and decided to put this scheme in, that's utter nonsense. This debate and discussion on this particular scheme, Navika, has been going on for around 2 years. It was, of course, not brought in the public. Perhaps had it been brought into the public, might have been better. You would have got a lot of other suggestions coming in, but you are getting suggestions even now. And going forward, if you feel that there is a need for either increasing the time period from 4 to 5 years or doing some other stuff, that can always be done. I don't think that's a big deal. And again, as General VK Singh said, that when earlier schemes had been brought in for OTA and others, you never went ahead and consulted people on that. One final point, Navika, which I wanted to just push back on. To justify rioting on the streets on the basis of joblessness, then I want to understand from the gentleman from the TMC that all the killings and pogroms which are taking place in West Bengal, are they because of joblessness, and isn't that Mamata Banerjee's failure? Now, if this is the kind of logic which you are going to use to justify violence on the streets, to justify arson, to justify rioting, then then it's like a free-for-all for everybody.
Absolutely.
There is joblessness, but
Riju Datta respond to that.
First of all, Navika ji, nobody justified violence. Nobody justified violence.
1 minute. Mr. Ali, you can't constantly be speaking. I'm coming to all panelists turn by turn. I will come back to you, but you can't constantly be speaking. There is the TMC representative who also deserves a chance to speak. Kindly just wait for your turn. Yes, Riju Datta.
Thank you, Navikaji. See, first of all, we condemn violence. We don't support for violence. So nobody said that we justified violence. I only just said that the youths are on the street because there are no jobs. Secondly, Sumanji very categorically said from where the highest recruitments take place, and there are no problems there. But the states which have faced, but the states, I don't know again who is speaking here.
He's asking you a question. Aren't people on the streets in West Bengal? Aren't people on the streets in West Bengal time and again?
No, people are not. People are not on the streets in West Bengal because of Agnipath. People were on the streets because a fringe element and an irresponsible person abused a religion, and she's still roaming scot-free. That is why people are on the streets. So coming back to the topic, my question is very simple. The places, the states where we have seen most amount of violence and arson because of this Agnipath project are the states that are ruled by BJP. So it again exposed their double engine disaster. Secondly, BJP before the election said one position in the army, and I'm reminding all the viewers about this. As soon as the election got over, it turned out to be another jumla. And last but not the least, the most important point that I want to drill across now, that the age with which this project will recruit boys will be at the age of 17 and a half years. 17 and a half years means that boy is not even eligible.
Sanju Verma, I'm coming to you, Sanjuji. I'm coming to you, Sanjuji. We can't have a debate with everybody speaking over each other. Let him complete the 3 questions and then you answer everybody's questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
He's been going on and on, Navika. He's been going on and on, rattling out.
Ma'am, allow me to moderate, please. Please allow me to moderate.
No, you can.
Yes, Riju Dattaji. Complete your point.
Thank you. My last point I want to drill across is, yes, my last 10 seconds is that the age of recruitment in this Agnipath project is 17 and a half years. At that age, a boy is not even qualified for a driver's license, and that age is barely where even you don't cross class 12. Now these boys, after 6 months of training, when they will be barely 18 years old, that means a boy studying in class 12 will be privy to sensitive informations of the country, joining the army, and they probably will be facing China and Pakistan in the borders. Are you kidding me?
May I?
All right. Sanju Verma, respond.
First things first.
Navika, please ask him what age do people join at right now?
Who was, giving lecture to the BJP. All I will tell you is, रस्सी जल गई पर बल नहीं गया. पहले चुनाव जीतिए, बाद में बीजेपी को भाषण दीजिए. Sushant Sareen made some interesting points, but I am not confused. I know that the Agnipath scheme is only applicable to our jawans and not to officer rank cadre. All I was saying was, if you want to retire from the armed forces under the aegis of a permanent commission, you have to sit for competitive exams. So, Mr. Sareen, I was not confused. Now, coming to the most important point, Riju Datta made some allegations. Let me tell you, which is the government which implemented one rank, one pension? Modi government. Which is the government which said that women will be a part of the permanent commission? Since February 2020, more than 577 women enjoy permanent commission status. Which is the government which has said that, women will be inducted on a war footing into Sainik schools or young girls? The Modi government. Congress ke waqt par, we never had a defense outlay of more than 1.90 lakh crore. Do you know what was the defense outlay in the budget announced in February 2022? 5.25 lakh crore. What was the defense outlay last year? 4.78 lakh crore.
China is building a bridge in Arunachal Pradesh. That is why China is building a bridge in Arunachal Pradesh.
For more than 2 or 3 decades, one rank, one pension was a figment of people's imagination. We have given out more than 47,000 crore to more than 21 lakh.
But ma'am, how does that answer the questions on Agnipath? The question really here is on Agnipath, and that is the issue. And Sushant Sareen, the 17-and-a-half-year children who are going to be joining was the worry of Riju Datta. You were responding to him on the age.
I was just asking him, at what age do people join the army right now? Does Mr. Datta know that? So, this is just manufacture something because he heard it from somewhere, so he is now parroting it out here. And to say that somebody who joins
19
the age
to 24
and becomes a full-fledged soldier and joins a unit by the age of 18 and is sent to the frontier, that's happening even now. Isn't that happening right now? So, and to say that how are you going to give these sensitive secrets to these people?
Let go after 4 years.
You are not going to be giving them any
the
top class secrets, state secrets, right? And many of the people who retire after 15 years, what is the guarantee that they will not disclose secrets? There are people who are already serving in the army who are falling for honey traps. What about their level of maturity, that somebody who suddenly thinks that somebody like an Angelina Jolie is in love with him? Now the guy's got to be mad in his head, right? He should just look at himself in the mirror and know that Angelina Jolie is not going to be in love with him. But people are like that. So how are you going to say that, no, I will not recruit anybody until a particular age? That's a nonsensical argument, right? Just one more point where I have to check again. Number one, you can't mix up the recruitment of officers and people, persons below officer rank, and that's like comparing apples and oranges and talking about permanent commission and temporary commission. Number one. Number two, on the defense budgets, yes, in absolute terms, the defense budgets have been going up year after year. But if you look at it in relative terms, Navika, the defense budget in India today has been falling as a percentage of GDP. Normally, it should be about 2.5 to 3%. Even if you say 3% is excessive, 2.5%. It has fallen below 1.5%. And this is as low as it was during the 1962 war. So yes, in quantum, it has gone up. In relative terms, defense budgets have been coming down.
Tehseen Poonawalla, raising his hand for a long time. Sorry, Tehseen.
No problem.
Your point.
There are two very important technical points that I want to raise. Number one, there has been no study done with the cost, whether they'll go up or low. And my feeling is the cost will go up with the cyclic training. Because you see, there'll be one batch of 75% of the recruits that will retire after 4 years. And there'll be a new batch that comes in. So again, the training costs are absolutely going to go up. Again, there's been no study done on that. The second part is somebody who's been retained at 25%, the 75% you've let go. After 4 years, he has to go back to the bottom and start all over again. He does not start with 4 years of experience. I think, and that has been clarified, please Sanju Verma, that has been absolutely clarified. Even Sushant ji was on the other show. That is absolutely, in my opinion, wrong. Third thing, Sanju Verma is absolutely wrong on EPFO data. Pulak Ghosh report says very, very categorically that EPFO cannot be a barometer for employment generation, and there are various reasons for it. And fourth, the Mudra loan, the average Mudra loan is 40,000 rupees. What jobs are you creating in 40,000 rupees?
Vijay Mallya was a defaulter. So please folks...
What has Vijay Mallya got to do in an army debate?
Pulak Ghosh is the man who gave the LOC to Vijay Mallya, despite knowing Vijay Mallya was a defaulter.
I'm talking about the economist Pulak Ghosh, the SBI.
People, 1.3
from SBI.
Are new subscribers into EPFO on an average every month.
But if you get one person in, you're going to recruit, you mislead by thinking 20 new jobs are created. If a company has 19 employees and it hires one more, you're misled into thinking 20 jobs are created.
Well, that's neither here nor there, ladies and gentlemen. You might argue about the EPFO data till the cows come home, but that is not going to solve your Agnipath issues on the ground. At the moment, questions that are being raised have been answered. Is this scheme set in stone? Certainly not. Will it evolve as it goes along? Yes, it will. And in fact, I just interviewed Lieutenant General Anil Puri a short while ago, who said very, very clearly that CAPF, state police forces, and all of those decisions and notifications will be coming out in terms of jobs that will be given to those people who come out of the armed forces after this 4-year stint as Agniveers. The question is, are we taking too long to convince the people on the streets? Is the communication that is lacking in this entire scheme? It's the understanding which is going haywire because people are being misled. Well, somewhere in the middle of this, we're seeing the youth up in arms. The question is, if the communication is a problem, then the communication needs to improve and fast. And if there are some people who are being misled, I'd just like to put out one request to all political parties with folded hands, that this is about our defense services. This is about security. This is about security of our motherland, our country, India. On this, can we please refrain from politics? Small request from 1 billion people in this country. Can political parties please oblige? Thank you very much for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night. Be safe.
The Newshour at 9 will be right back after the break. Times now. Action begins here.
You use the word empathy. Many people will think, sir, that you're paying lip service to the term.
Yes.
Empathy is acknowledging that a genocide happened.
Right, that's your opinion.
Let me finish.
That's your opinion.
Let me finish, sir. Why aren't you letting me finish?
I'm not here to satisfy you.
What have we set off?
Opinion.
I can't ask you a question.
You finish because you turn everything around. I'm sorry.
I'm not. You use these words.
Listen, this is my last warning. If you don't want a conversation, I walk out. If you don't want a conversation, I walk out. Simple.
But Mr. Khurshid, if you're not going to allow me to frame the questions on the words that you yourself have used, then how can we have a conversation? I don't understand what rules these are.
No.
Anyhow,
You can ask me the question. Please understand.
Khurshid Saab, मैं बताऊं.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Watching the Newshour at 9. Stay tuned. Times now. Action begins here.
When I see young Rahul Gandhi to go and stand with the Naxal supporting students, Tukde gang, give them ideological, emotional support, to stand with all those, sir, please trust me, there are pictures, there are photographs. He went there, he went to JNU, supported them. Rahul Gandhi is always found standing with the enemies of India. Slowly your party has started sounding as if you are absolutely anti-Hindu. And when I came to UK, people feel your party is now becoming anti-India. Please don't give me any explanation. Sir, I'm requesting you, don't give me any answer. Just pass on this message to the great grandson of the great Kashmiri Pandit Shri Jawaharlal Nehru, so that he understands that he should not stand with anybody who picks up guns, violence and terrorizes a community which is a minority in Kashmir.
Good evening, you're with the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhas Gopalakrishna. Yesterday, a Congress leader had warned that there would be Bharat mein Angare jalenge. And today, India burned. Arson, anarchy and assault was let loose by the rampaging cadres of the Congress. In the name of protesting against ED's interrogation of Rahul Gandhi, the entire nation was plunged into chaos. Buses were vandalized, vehicles set ablaze, and barricades were breached. Meanwhile, senior Congress leaders unleashed their wrath on the men in khaki. In fact, watch these visuals. This is a senior Congress leader, a former union minister and a confidant of the Gandhi Parivar, Renuka Chaudhary, leading the Hyderabad protest. She can be seen on camera pulling a cop by his scruff. Visuals show her during this altercation with this policeman. She held him by his collar. At first, she brazened it out, saying that she was merely taking his support, and then faced with video evidence, she was forced to apologize. Watch this.
I have no intentions of hitting policemen. That is not my intention at all. But I was being manhandled. I was losing my balance. I was falling on that man. You can see in the visuals very clearly that they're suddenly trying to push me. And that is the reason my hand slipped from where I was reaching for his shoulder. He moved and I caught his collar. It is not my intention to humiliate him or anything like that. Unnecessarily, this is being, the real issue is being diverted.
Of course I regret. Any common person will regret it. But I will apologize to that individual man because poor fellow, he had no intention, I had no intention. He knows and I know. But I expect the police to apologize to me also. I am within my rights.
For pushing you?
Yeah, for pushing. For pushing, shoving, hurting, tearing.
And Renuka Chaudhary is joining us. Renuka Chaudhary, thank you so much for speaking to Times Now. Now, ma'am, there's a video which is viral where you're seen holding a cop by his collar. Surely we can expect better from our elected representatives.
So I'm also asking a question to all those viewers who have been asking you these questions. Is it that because I'm a former union minister and I was senior leader, whatever, that I can be treated for no reason, no provocation, you can come and attack me? That the police are entitled to push me around, to twist my left arm at my age, and to push me where I'm losing my balance? There's a clear visual which the Telugu media has got, where I'm talking peacefully to the media. They're asking me several questions. I was not part of the program which was happening before that. All the senior leaders were arrested and taken away. I came to an empty road. I got out of my car. I said, what happened here? And the media came rushing to me and kept asking me questions. And even as I'm answering them peacefully with these 4 other women who were left there, we were attacked.
Well, nobody is defending any kind of high-handedness. Can 2 wrongs make a right?
Where is my left arm? You show me that. I'm telling you, my arm was twisted. I lost my balance and I fell on that poor guy. I don't know him from Adam and he doesn't know me from Eve. Yes, I'm falling. What do you expect me to do? What do you want me to do? Lift him and carry him on my lap, is it? They're pushing me from behind. My left arm is twisted. I'll show you that visual. Where is that visual? Where my left arm is twisted. And they're pushing me from behind and I'm keeping my balance. I'm not supposed to fall on this man. Wow.
Ma'am, no, but you know, Renuka Chaudhary, the point is that you're not seen falling anywhere, at least in the video, and you go to a cop who's standing there unprovoked. That's the question that's being raised.
I was sitting in the police car because they took me in the police car physically with 3 other women. And we were made to sit. What do you want me to do? Get down and sashay and sit in some comfort, is it? What did you expect me to do? Tell me. I'll go by your advice. What are we supposed to do when we are addressing the media?
Renuka Chaudhary,
did the police have that consideration that I'm a senior? Not just a politician, I'm a senior citizen also. Did they show any consideration that we were women?
No, but the point is...
And the women are hit and pinched and pushed from behind?
All right. No, but Renuka Chaudhary, let me in fact ask you this question. At the end of the day, legal action could have been taken. You could have approached the cops, filed a case. You know, why resort to this kind of violent behavior? That's a question that needs an answer.
To me? Why aren't you asking them that question? Why aren't you asking them that there are hundreds of cases in this state where ministers are involved? A man went to the police station in my district, Khammam, and he said, Puwada Ajay, the minister, TRS minister, he took poison in the police station and died.
Okay.
Do you think an SI has...
No, but the point is, ma'am, this kind of entitlement is certainly something that many have a problem with. We're going to come back to you. We're going to keep coming back to you. And certainly this is an episode that repeats itself as far as the netas in this country are concerned. Renuka Chaudhary, we'll have to leave it there for the moment. Thanks so much for joining us. Clearly, of course, I think these visuals speak for themselves. Our viewers can figure out what's going on. Renuka Chaudhary, of course, says that she lost her balance. Where did she lose her balance over here? Let's take this question across to some of our panelists who are joining us. Before we go across to them, in fact, this is the debate that we're going to be having this evening. Is this kind of behavior justified by netas in the name of peaceful protest?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's now go across to our guest joining us for the debate. We have with us Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, joining us here in the studio. Shubhrashta is with us, founder of the Churn. Mateen Sharif is a Congress leader joining us on the broadcast. Also with us is Sunny Dhiman, spokesperson of the Youth Congress. Dr. Suman Raman is a political analyst joining us. Let's first and foremost go across to Mateen Sharif. Mateen Sharif, the question is this. Where in this fresh video, and in fact the video that we just saw on the screens, has been provided by Renuka Chaudhary. Even in that video, कहीं दिख नहीं रहा कि वो बैलेंस उनका खराब हुआ, कि वो लड़खड़ा के गिर गई, बस वो जाके कॉलर पकड़ती है। हाँ, ये बात जरूर हुई होगी कि वो मीडिया से बात कर रही थी और पुलिस बीच में आ गई, पर उसका क्या ये मतलब है कि एकदम गिरेबान से लोगों को पकड़ा जाए? मतीन शरीफ,
सर वहां पे प्रोटेस्ट के वक्त मैं रेणुका चौधरी मैडम के सामने था। मैं अपने आंखों से वो देखा कि जब मीडिया से वो पर्सनली विदाउट एनी वायलेंस वो मीडिया को से बात कर रही थी। वो उस वक्त एक सीनियर सिटीजन, ही इज पॉलिटिशियन, यू कीप साइड, ही इज द सीनियर सिटीजन फीमेल लेडी. Some man, police persons has came and pushing to senior citizen. That's why he is become very angry. After that, he want to push cash to that police officer. I am at that place at that time. मैं वहां पर मौजूद था. तो ये क्या है, पुलिस वालों की जुल्म ज्यादती हो रही सर. वहां पे हम सत्याग्रह जो आज से कई साल पहले महात्मा गांधी जी ने जो शुरू किया था,
सर गुस्से में क्या ये सही है, क्या ये सही है कि उन्होंने पुलिस वालों को कहा कि आप असेंबली में चोरों को सलाम करते हैं?
पूरी कोशिश कर रहा था.
क्या ये सही है मतीन साहब कि उन्होंने गुस्से में कहा कि आप चोरों को असेंबली में सलाम करते हैं और उसी गुस्से में जाके उन्होंने गिरेबान से पकड़ा इस पुलिस वाले को? आप वहीं खड़े थे ना?
वहां पर पब्लिक बहुत ज्यादा थी, हजारों की तादाद में लोग थे. वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा स्लोगन्स लगा रहे थे.
आप बात थे कि नहीं थे?
मैं ये पर्सनली ये वर्ड मैं तो नहीं सुना.
आप अभी कह रहे थे कि आप वहीं पे थे उस वक्त जब ये सारा हुआ.
ये वर्ड
अब आपने वर्ड्स नहीं सुने वहां के, क्योंकि हजारों लोग थे.
हाँ, वहां पे था, थाउजेंड्स ऑफ लोग थे.
ओके, तो आपके और रेणुका जी के बीच में थाउजेंड्स ऑफ लोग थे. आप वहां थे लेकिन बीच में थाउजेंड्स ऑफ लोग थे.
संघर्ष करो, हम तुम्हारे साथ है.
सर ये बताइए, अगर बिल्कुल उन्होंने सही किया तो आज माफी किस लिए मांगी उन्होंने?
पूरी पब्लिक थी वहां पे, स्लोगन्स थे.
माफी किस लिए मांगी है सर फिर उन्होंने?
नहीं देखिए, अगर एक सीनियर सिटीजन, एक रेणुका चौधरी मैडम एक सीनियर कांग्रेस लीडर है, एक सीनियर सिटीजन है, एक वेल एजुकेटेड फैमिली से है, इसलिए हो सकता अगर किसी को तकलीफ हुई तो वो हो सकता वो माफी मांग ले. ये इसमें कोई छोटे होने वाली बात नहीं है. जो माफी,
बट ये हाई हैंडेड बिहेवियर नहीं है सर. मैं आपसे एक सिंपल सवाल पूछ रहा हूं, अगर पुलिस ने किसी तरह की ज्यादती करी है, और हो सकता है, मैं डिस्काउंट नहीं कर रहा हूं कि पुलिस कई जाती नहीं करती है इस पूरे देश में, होते इस तरह की घटनाएं, लेकिन बीइंग अ फॉर्मर यूनियन मिनिस्टर क्या इतना एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया जा सकता कि फॉर्मल कंप्लेंट लॉन्च करे? क्या इस तरह का गिरेबान से पकड़ना, इस तरह की गुंडागर्दी दिखाना, क्या ये शोभा देता है उन्हें?
नहीं देखिए, उन्होंने ऐसा गिरेबान पकड़ के उनको कुछ करना बोल के गिराना या ढकलना जैसा पुलिस वालों का मकसद था, इनका वैसा मकसद नहीं था. बस वो गुस्से में बहुत ज्यादा राहुल जी के
मकसद नहीं था,
आज जो बिहेवियर
शहजादपुरा वाला मकसद नहीं था,
आज हो रहा है, उस वजह से पूरी
धक्का देने का मकसद नहीं था. वो खुद लड़खड़ा के गिर गई उनके ऊपर, पुलिस वाले के ऊपर. ये कहना है रेणुका चौधरी और मतीन शरीफ जी का. शहजादपुरा वाला,
नहीं
मतीन जी, मैं अब बोल लूं?
नहीं
मतीन जी, आपकी इजाजत हो तो बोल लूं? थैंक यू. देखिए, दिस इज लेस ऑफ अ केस ऑफ लॉस्ट,
बिल्कुल सॉरी,
दिस इज लेस ऑफ अ केस ऑफ लॉस्ट बैलेंस एंड इट इज मोर ऑफ अ केस ऑफ लॉस्ट द प्लॉट. And this is less of a case of falling on the cop and falling standard ज़्यादा है इसमें. See, the point is that today AICC does not mean All India Congress Committee. It means Arson इनको चाहिए committee, assault इनको चाहिए committee. They want to assault everybody. Yesterday, what was the provocation when they beat up the Assam cop? Yesterday, what was the provocation when this Sheikh Hussain said that मैं प्रधानमंत्री को डैश डैश करके मार देना चाहता हूँ? What was the provocation when he said आगजनी होगी? What was the provocation when tires were burnt, when there was rioting, almost riotous situation was created? Buses were stopped today. There was a commotion and commuters were disturbed. What was the provocation for all of that? These are all excuses that are being made. I have certain questions. See, the reason why Congress party is becoming violent is because on the Rahul Gandhi ED issue, they are completely silent. They have no answers to give. This for Rahul Gandhi is evasive before the ED, and these people have become aggressive on the streets. I just want to ask, सत्याग्रह की बात कर रहे हैं, ये सत्याग्रह नहीं हत्याग्रह है. मतीन जी, जब सत्याग्रह कर रहे थे महात्मा गांधी नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट के दौरान, चौरी चौरा में जो घटना हुई, उसके बाद महात्मा गांधी ने नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट वापस ले लिया. यहाँ पे आप कह रहे गुस्सा हो गई मैडम तो कॉलर पकड़ लिया. अरे मतलब कि आपके नेता के डॉलर पर हाथ डालेंगे तो आप कॉलर पर हाथ डालेंगे. ये स्कैम का डॉलर अगर रिकवर होगा तो आप कॉलर पर हाथ डालेंगे. ये कहाँ का सत्याग्रह है भाई? ये सत्याग्रह नहीं, ये पूर्वाग्रह, दुराग्रह और हत्याग्रह है. और मतीन जी मुझे बताइए, आप कह रहे हैं कि गलती से मिस्टेक हो गया, तो गलती से शेख हुसैन के मुंह से भी निकल गया कि प्रधानमंत्री को डैश डैश की मौत मरना चाहिए, ये भी गलती से था ना। उन पर कार्रवाई ना इन पर कार्रवाई। और मैं किसकी बात मानूं? रेणुका चौधरी कह रही है मैं ट्रिप हो गई तो मैंने बाय मिस्टेक उनको पकड़ लिया, ये कह रहे गुस्से में कॉलर पकड़ लिया। अरे वहां पर देखिए क्या हो रहा है। दिस इज द नेचर ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी. दिस इज ओनली बिकॉज दे वांट टू सेव वन फैमिली from accountability of corruption, and therefore they are not answering the ED. They're trying to create evasive replies.
Okay.
And they're trying to
let me bring in. Let me bring
now
in.
whatever is left, they're trying to do assault and arson.
Okay, stay with us now, Shehzad. Let me bring in Dr. Suman C. Raman on that. Suman C. Raman, just look at these visuals if you can. You can answer the question that Shehzad has posed. He's posed several questions, but just look at these this video on your screen. I don't know if you can see the channel or not, but is this the kind of body language of a person who's tripped and is falling? Yeah. She's literally waving this guy around with this gentleman around, I beg your pardon, by the scruff of his neck. This does not seem by any stretch of the imagination to be a person who's falling, to the best of my understanding.
Move her hand.
Exactly.
Madhav, she has given her explanation a few moments ago to you directly, and she has said that there was somebody behind her who was pushing her and she fell. Now, you may choose to accept that, you may not choose to accept that. But I just want to point out.
Do you accept that?
How come you who found this one clip did not find the clip of Congress MP J.B. Mathur being dragged along the ground day before yesterday, and you didn't find the visuals of Congress Lok Sabha MP Jyoti Mani, who had her clothes being torn, and she was
absolutely there's no doubt about that.
Unfortunately,
there is no doubt about that. No, Suman C. Raman, my point is this.
We didn't have a debate on that.
No. You can bring that up. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's a fair point, sir. It's a fair point. I am only saying. Listen to my question. Listen to my question. And it's not just that. B.Y. Srinivas, your Youth Congress chief, has also in one visual been seen kicked. I am not saying that the police in this country are a bunch of angels. I am not here to give any certificate to any political party or any police force. My question is this, that if you claim that this is a satyagraha and a peaceful protest, then does it behove any political party which says so to act in a violent fashion? Because we've seen what's happened in Assam, why a cop there was hit on his head, where barricades were pushed on cops in Delhi yesterday, because that is something that also has to be accepted.
Very clearly, violence is not acceptable, whoever may indulge in it, period. Congress indulges in it, it is wrong, there is no justification. Having said that, in Delhi, most of the protests that we saw were entirely peaceful. They were disrupted by the police using strong arm tactics. It was very, very clear. The videos, all the videos, many of them were live, so they don't lie. The police entered into the AICC head office. So I think that these are things which need to be condemned too, instead of this one incident where Renuka Chaudhary, according to her, mind you, she's 67, 68 years old almost. She's almost, she's well into being a senior citizen.
Okay.
So it's not that she's posing a threat to the life of the policeman. And
okay, quick response. Shehzad wants to respond to you on that.
Suman C. Raman says in one breath that violence is not acceptable, period. And then he brings about his whataboutery card, which is only second to his victimhood card. Sir, this is a different incident. If you have a complaint against the Delhi police, so, Suman ji, please hear me out. If you have a complaint against the Delhi police, file a criminal complaint against them and take them to the courts and haul them up. But does that justify... No, 1 second, sir, please don't interrupt. Sir, we are having a decent debate. I heard you out. Hear me out. I am saying Delhi incident, separate. If you have a complaint, take it up, get them punished. But what justifies using violence against a cop, putting your hand on the collar of a serving police officer, government officer, and then to come out and justify it, saying that this happened there, wo 1947 mein wo ho gaya, 1917 mein wo ho gaya, isliye ye ho gaya. Sir, please, and please see that video. There's nobody behind her. In fact, when she's tripping, apparently, the police woman is trying to remove the hand from her collar. She is assaulting a government servant on duty. Do you realize how serious that is? In America, what would happen if somebody did that?
There is a policewoman behind her. Can't you see?
Please, are you suggesting she's pushing her?
Can't you?
Why don't you put that full frame? Madhav, let the people.
The videos. This is the frame. This is the frame that can be seen. There are 3 cops surrounding them. I think our viewers are intelligent enough to understand. But I want to get into the wider debate now in the context of what is happening nationally. And I want to bring in Shubhrashta. Shubhrashta, the question that comes up repeatedly from the side of the opposition is this: they have repeatedly said that it is because of the strong arm tactics of the police. And yes, there are several incidents that have been caught on camera. I don't think any of them have been officially or formally denied, where in fact cops are seen in one case kicking B.V. Srinivas. In another case, entering the party offices is the allegation of the Congress party. Senior leaders being assaulted. Mr. Chidambaram, Adhiranjan Chaudhary, all the members of parliament have even approached the speaker today claiming that the police has been attacking them. So the argument coming in from this side is that the police and the agencies at the behest of the central government or the respective state government have been assaulting them. Your response to that?
Madhav, that the Congress party has complained to the speaker today. I mean, some members of the Congress party have complained to the speaker today, or if they want to take up the case against Delhi police in whatever formal way or in whatever formal capacity. I think as citizens we can merely be spectators to this drama that is unfolding. But my response to this, the larger question that you raised was, look, there is a case of financial misappropriation and financial fraud. Now, on this very question, the decent democratic response to it could have been very simply Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, or Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi coming in front of the media, either in a joint press conference or individual press conference, to explain their position. And if Madam Sonia is in hospital, is what I heard yesterday on a television debate, then their financial representatives should come out and speak about it, because this is not a political question. This question is a matter of financial fraud. This is a question where AJL, where Young India Limited and National Herald, these 3 big organizations have been, there is a paper trail, there's a money trail. It shows that crores of rupees, like more than 90 crores of rupees have been siphoned off, and both the mother and son, Sonia and Rahul, are beneficiaries of the same. It's a big claim. Right. So I don't understand that as a responsible opposition, and as people who claim to be the face of the opposition, why can't they just come out in the open and address the media, or talk to the citizens directly, or do a Twitter live, or do a Facebook live? I mean, in this day and age of digital democracy, you don't really need to depend on so many resources to put forward your word.
I'm going to put that question.
But unleash an entire party out on the streets to fight against institutions is,
Yeah, I'm going to put that question across to Sunny Dhiman, because Sunny Dhiman, I want you to answer that question. The question is this. Yesterday, there was a Congress leader by the name of Mr. Sheikh Hussain who actually made a statement that Bharat mein angare jalenge. And today, literally, we have seen the arson and the anarchy unleashed on the streets. The question is this, that if statements such as the kind of statement this individual had made about the Prime Minister, had that been strongly condemned by the party leadership, or whoever was taking law into his own hands was condemned by the party leadership, perhaps we would not see these continuing protests today.
Yeah, good evening. This answer has 2 parts. First, why this ED thing is happening right now, not just against Rahul Gandhi, but you just name the opposition party who is not with BJP, even the 25-year-old party जो उनकी अलाई थी NDA की, शिवसेना को नहीं छोड़ा, आम आदमी पार्टी को नहीं छोड़ा. Whosoever is in opposition, they are targeting it. And why Rahul Gandhi is on target? Because Rahul Gandhi is our leader. Rahul Gandhi is our 21st century Nostradamus. Whatever he say, it becomes true. He said in UK recently that BJP जो है इस देश में केरोसिन ऑयल बिखेर रही है, और अगर किसी ने बोल दिया है कि अंगारे बरसेंगे, वो तो अभी अग्निपथ में हो चुका है ना. ये जो हिंदू मुस्लिम की डिबेट कराकर और महंगाई की मार कर कर अपने अडानी अंबानी को पैसा देकर जो आपने देश में अंगारे बरसाए हैं, उस अग्निपथ पर युवा चल रहे हैं. और अभी जिन मुद्दों पर डिबेट की जा रही है कि कॉलर पकड़ा नहीं पकड़ा, तो इधर उधर की ना बात कर, ये बता कारवां कैसे लूटा। मतलब ये मुद्दा देखिए, इस देश में अच्छी ये बताइए, इतनी जो ट्रेनें जली है आज अग्निपथ कितनों के घरों पर बुलडोजर चलाने वाली है मोदी सरकार।
मिस्टर धीमन, लेट मी जस्ट कम इन।
इन्होंने रसोइयों पर, इन्होंने भारत की रसोइयों पर बुलडोजर चला दिया है।
मिस्टर धीमन, मैं सवाल आपके सवाल, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू आस्क दोस क्वेश्चंस ऑफ द बीजेपी स्पोक्सपर्सन्स, बट लेट मी आस्क यू अ सिंपल पॉइंट, a simple legal question, that if this is indeed the case, if Mr. Gandhi is indeed innocent, why is it that he is out on bail? Why is it that after approaching the Supreme Court, after the High Court, all of them have asked them to go right back to the trial court? If this entire prosecution was a malicious one and they was completely devoid of any merit, isn't it the case that the Supreme Court or the higher courts would have quashed it?
जनाब, जो ये ईडी की जांच हो रही है, ये मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग केस में हो रही है, जिसकी एक एफआईआर तक दर्ज नहीं है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, ये एक ऐसा यूनिक केस है एक मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग का जिसमें मनी इन्वॉल्व नहीं है। इसमें इन्वॉल्व है राहुल गांधी, कांग्रेस फैमिली का वो चेहरा जो हम सब विश्वास करते हैं। आप खुद सोचिए, इस परिवार ने इस देश को इतने प्रधानमंत्री दिए हैं, वो 40-50 लाख का करप्शन करेगा। मतलब क्या, ये तो लॉजिकल बात है। बाकी
I think the allegation is 2,000 crores, but I'm going to let Shehzad come in and then I'm coming to you, Subramanian.
मैं डिसाइड नहीं करूंगा कि क्या गलत है, क्या
I'm seeing many hands going up. Yes, Sumansi Raman coming to you as well. Yes, Shehzad.
इस देश में
facts, if you can speak in our
terms, इस देश में इस वक्त जो अग्निपथ फैलाया जा रहा है, अग्निपथ फैलाया,
आपने 40-50 लाख की बात करी। अब जवाब सुन लीजिए।
ये जो अग्निपथ फैलाया जा रहा है,
Okay, Shehzad Poonawala. Okay, I'll ask the question. One second, calm down. Sunny Devan, calm down. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to each of you one by one. We can't all speak together.
Yeah.
Shehzad, the direct allegation that the agencies are being misused, that the government at the center is misusing these agencies to target opposition parties. Why would they do so? A corruption of 40 to 50 lakhs after having so many prime ministers, says Mr. Sunny Devan. Please respond to it.
First of all, when he just spoke about Aam Aadmi Party also. When the ED acted on Aam Aadmi Party, this is the statement of the Congress. They wanted the health minister to be immediately dismissed, saying that the action was well deserved. So when action is taken on Satyendra Jain, ED is Chamatkar, and when action is taken on Parivar, it is Gunega. This is the double standard. Secondly, there is an ED case. By the way, ED doesn't file an FIR. ED files an ECIR. Sunny Devan, please don't interrupt. We are having an intellectual debate, and JNU has that practice, right? So please have the patience to hear. ED does not file FIRs. ED files ECIR. By the way, an ECIR or an FIR first is filed and then it goes to court. In this matter, please have the patience. Hear me out. In this matter, there was a private complaint. The trial court took cognizance, and under 420 and 120B, which are scheduled offences under PMLA Section 3, money laundering was initiated. By the way, if there was no ECIR and all of this was happening without ECIR, Motilal Vora, Oscar Fernandez and attachments took place, and their questioning took place under the same case in the last 1 year. Why didn't you go to a court of law and get this dismissed or get it stayed, saying that there's no ECIR, there's no preliminary investigation in this? So don't make arguments that you're not competent to. And by the way, let me tell you what the trial court has said. The trial court has said that YI in fact was created as a sham or a cloak to convert public money for personal use, acquiring control over 2,000 crores assets, and the High Court has upheld this. So please don't say that things like this is a 50 lakh rupee scam. And by the way, even if 1 rupee scam is a scam, this is a 2,000 crore rupee scam. IT order took place against you. Apart from that, the High Court has ruled against you. The Supreme Court ruled against you. You have got no relief. You only answer one question. Congress party gave a loan to AJL, which was then converted as a loan to YI, and it was waived off. How could the Congress party do it without asking the donors? YI has not done single charitable act, even though it's a charitable organization. How come? When did the paper started getting published?
Okay, let him respond.
What was the period between that?
Number of questions you made.
2010 to 2016.
Number of points you made. Sunny Devan, quick response, then I go across to other panelists. Yes.
First of all, in 2015, the case was closed.
No.
By ED.
No.
Second.
No, it was not closed.
Private member was.
No, it was not closed.
None other than
don't
Swami,
lie. It was not closed.
Mr. Swami. No.
Please
was
show me the closure report.
And Swami and
show me the closure report.
Swami, who was the private member, और जब उनको
forget Swami. Show me the closure report. You said ED closed the case.
First of all,
it would have been filed in court. Show me the closure report in court.
अब सीधी सी बात है, ये सिर्फ इसलिए किया जा रहा है अगेन
You said the ED closed the case.
just because
There was an
राहुल
officer who
गांधी
gave an
इस देश में
opinion that it should
इकलौता
be
वो
closed. There was
व्यक्ति
no
है जो
closure.
नरेंद्र मोदी की आंखों में आंखें डाल के बात करता है और झुकता नहीं है। राहुल गांधी
भ्रष्टाचार करके रुकता नहीं है,
झुकता
नहीं है, भ्रष्टाचार करके रुकता नहीं
है। ईडी आप Just give me 1 sec. No, just give me 1 sec. कर्नाटका में वो जो 40% का कमीशन मांगने वाला बीजेपी का व्यक्ति था, ईडी पहुंची क्या? ईडी हमेशा भाजपाइयों को छोड़ के सब जगह पहुंचती है। क्यों पहुंचती है? थोड़ा दिल पर हाथ रखकर हाथ कह दो।
ईडी is selective and vindictive, right?
आप भी ये मानते हैं कि
ईडी is selective and vindictive
के लिए बनी है।
ED is selective and vindictive?
एक बीजेपी नहीं
Is the court vindictive? The court has ruled against you. The court has ruled against you. Forget the ED. The court has ruled against you. Sunny Dhiman, let's have a civilized debate. You made a point. Let me answer that point. Sunny Dhiman, can you please allow another person to answer?
Okay. Let me come in now.
Quickly answer one point.
Let me come in now.
5 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Make a quick point and then go across to others.
Sunny Dhiman, is this the culture of JNU debates where you don't allow somebody to speak?
All right, I'm going to come in now. Otherwise, I'm going to come in now. I have to low both the fingers. Come on.
You can call the ED selective, vindictive, all of that.
I was trying to speak. You were interrupting me.
But you are making the same point again and again.
You made the same point, Sunny Dhiman.
In JNU we give equal chance to everybody.
Okay, so now give me an
Okay. I'm going to other guests. I'm going to other guests.
Quickly, I'll respond. I won't take more than 10.
Quickly, 10 seconds.
Forget the ED. The court has made an observation and a finding that you all were indulging in these activities.
Okay.
And the ED, if it is selective and vindictive, go to court and prove it as such by you doing a hatyagraha or by you coming on TV.
Okay, Sumansi Raman now. Sumansi Raman, respond to that. Respond to that. There are charges that are held up, that are being upheld by the court, and in fact, in such a situation, this certainly is not desirable. This kind of violent protest is not desirable. Is this statement coming in from the BJP? Your response?
Yeah. Madhav, I'm sure the ED is not selective. After all, Mr. Y.S. Chaudhary, who was accused by the BJP. In fact, all the allegations against Mr. Y.S. Chaudhary of a 5,000 crore money laundering scam was made by the BJP. The moment he joined the BJP, he became pure as snow, and nothing happened to Mr. Y.S. Chaudhary after that. Mr. C.M. Ramesh, we could go on. Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma. I mean, let's not even go down that line. But I pointed out Mr. Y.S. Chaudhary simply because it's the same agency. It's the same ED. And the charges were brought by BJP. It was not brought by opposition, or it was not brought by YSRCP against the TDP or whatever. When Mr. Chaudhary was in TDP, these charges were made by BJP. Mr. G.L. Narasimha Rao made those charges. Please ask Shehzad what happened to the ED's case.
Okay, let me bring in Shubhrashta on that point.
5,000 crore is bigger than 2,000 crore also.
Shubhrashta, the point being made by the opposition is that, BJP is a whitewashing machine. That people in opposition, leaders in opposition, when their charges are brought against them, you're making this charge. Listen, let me ask the question that you've made, Mr. Sumansi Raman, and Shubhrashta is there to answer it, that whether it is Mr. Mukul Roy, whether it is, the case of Y.S. Chaudhary, individuals who face charges, once they join the BJP, suddenly these charges are dropped, and thereby they say that central agencies are being misused. Your response to that?
See, that central agencies serve as instruments of, that ideological state apparatus. We all know of the concept, and I'm not going to get into a political debate on this. My very simple ask as a citizen of this country who is not associated with any political party in any formal capacity is this: why cannot Rahul or Sonia come in front of the media or come in front of the citizens of this country and lay out the paper trail and explain why they are innocent? It's a very simple question. Why isn't Mr. Dhiman answering this question? Why isn't Mr. Mateen, who was there, answering this simple question? Why am I being fed on this political rhetoric of ED is being... Excuse me, Mr. Sumant, I am not able to, articulate myself because you're intervening, intermittently. Please allow me to speak. You spoke when, you were given a chance. I don't understand why can't my question be answered pretty directly. Why is Rahul not available for answering these questions? Why is no financial representative from, all these three organizations that I mentioned, whether National Herald or Associated Journal Limited or, Young India Limited, why are the financial representatives not there?
All right.
I have a student from the JNU on the panel. I mean, I really want to ask Mr. Sunny. Sunny, you are there. You are a young leader. And you're a promising leader. You are pretty articulate as well. Please explain to me, why is Rahul Gandhi shying away from answering these questions directly? I asked you as a youngster of this country. I asked you as a youth leader of the principal opposition party in this country, or at least that's what you guys claim to be. Why cannot your leader come out in the open and explain the paper trail?
Yes.
Okay, Sani Devan.
Yes. Our leader is already there in the ED. He's been grilled by ED for more than 48 hours. देखा है, कल को फिर से होगा. He is not saying that I will not go. It is Congress party and Congress worker who believe कि हम अंग्रेजों से लड़े थे और इनकी आतताइयों से भी लड़ेंगे. Miss Shubhrashtra could not tell कि why ex-BJP, ex-opposition member जिनके खिलाफ ED बैठी होती है, लेकिन suddenly when we join Congress, when we join BJP, they will become like, संत. उनके खिलाफ कोई कार्रवाई नहीं होती है. That is why we are saying it's a political vendetta. And why Congress? Why Rahul Gandhi? Because Rahul Gandhi has guts to speak eye to eye to Narendra Modi that he, चाहे वो इससे पहले राफेल की चोरी हो.
You made this point. You made this point for the third time this evening.
Rahul Gandhi जिसके
but again, the question of ED and its misuse politically coming in. I want the BJP spokesperson to now answer that question. Once again, that question coming in from a panelist that अगर BJP के बाहर हो तो you are guilty. The minute you join the BJP's fold, you are innocent. Central agencies are being misused rampantly.
First of all, Madhav, from what I hear from your channel, I don't think Rahul Gandhi is looking eye to eye into the investigator's eyes. He's trying to hide all the answers and retracing his answers, and that's why it's taking so many hours. But anyways, forget about eye to eye. I am saying forget all agencies. Although, please don't interrupt. Now who's interrupting? Is this your culture in JNU?
How do you know this?
Is this your culture in JNU? I am going by news reports. But I am going by news reports shown on Times now. You don't watch the news. That's the problem. It's evident. Now, can you please stop interrupting? Can you please stop interrupting?
Okay, one at a time. Yeah, let's go one at a time.
He just gave us a lecture about the culture of JNU.
Sunny Devan.
Now he's presenting himself.
Yeah, Sunny Devan, let him respond. Let him respond, and then you can come back. You can come back in the time. We have enough time. We have enough time. We have enough time, Sunny Devan. All right, Shahzad now.
No wonder they've been reduced to the canteens of the JNU. Anyways, now let me make this larger point. When the allegations were made on certain leaders, the same people, when the leaders were them, they used to say, no, these leaders are very clean. Don't make allegations. Don't make false allegations. If they still have the proof that when they have joined the BJP and these leaders are corrupt, who has stopped them from going to court and pursuing all of those cases? They should pursue case against Himanta Biswa Sarma, against Y.S. Chaudhary, against all these people. Who has stopped them? Secondly, I am saying don't go by any agency, even though no agency has been castigated as caged parrot in our tenure. It was done in their tenure. I am saying go by what court is saying. In this matter, the court has said that there is a prima facie case, and therefore the ED is acting on that case. If tomorrow you get a court order against any BJP leader and then get action done by the ED will have to follow, the CBI will have to follow. Why don't you go to court of law even once in the last 8 years to show that ED is vindictive, CBI is vindictive, or that you have heaps of evidence and no action has been taken against the BJP leaders?
Okay.
They won't go to court. They will only do this drama on the streets and then they will resort to violence.
All right, quick response. Suman Siraman.
Very interesting. Today I learned that it is the duty of the opposition to go to court and prosecute corrupt politicians.
What did we do in other cases?
Duty of the agency. Shut down the agencies then. Let the opposition...
Why you don't trust the agency?
Why do you have the agencies? What are the agencies for then? If you are saying opposition...
But you don't believe them. That's why I'm giving you an option.
All right. All right. Let's...
One second. Raman should be the last person saying he doesn't believe in courts. He has a family person who serves in the court.
All right. Let's not get into personal comments. I don't want to get into personal.
I respect the fact that
it's okay. All right. We're out of time. We're out of time on this debate. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Shahzad Poonawala, Shubhrashtra, Mateen Sharif, as well as Sunny Devan and Suman Siraman. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. The protest only expected to continue, and incidentally, the questioning is not tomorrow. Rahul Gandhi expected to appear before the Enforcement Directorate after seeking relief, now only on Monday. And moving on to the second story that is our top focus at this hour. And after withdrawing his Friday protest call, Tauqir Raza has now called for protests to gather, in fact, on Sunday to protest over the remarks against Prophet Muhammad. But it doesn't end there. Raza has hurled a "Dikha denge" dhamki, threatening that they will show that insult to Prophet Muhammad is not taken lightly, claiming that the government is scared of Friday prayers. Raza has chosen Sunday to stage his protest.
हिंदूवादी संगठनों के और हुकूमत के दिल में जो जुमे का डर बैठ गया है, वो जुमे का डर निकालने के लिए और हम ये दिखा भी देंगे और साबित भी कर देंगे कि रसूल आज़म की मोहब्बत में जो लोग जुमे को निकलने वाले थे, इतवार को भी उसी जोश, उसी जज्बे के साथ निकले।
Remember, this is not the first time that Raza has hurled insightful remarks. Just 2 days ago, he said Prime Minister Modi should come out of his Dhritarashtra mode and that he's confident of his Hindu brothers supporting him.
प्रशासन से भी मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूं कि आपसे हमारा कोई नाइत्तेफाकी नहीं है। हम तो चाहते हैं कि किसी भी तरह पुलिस का इकबाल बुलंद रहना चाहिए, लेकिन पुलिस को जब वर्दी पहने हो पुलिस, तो उसको हिंदू मुसलमान से ऊपर उठकर सोचना चाहिए, सिर्फ पुलिस बनकर काम करना चाहिए। जैसे मैंने पिछले जुमे को आपके उस आयोजन में कहीं रखना अंदाजी ना हो, मैंने अपना प्रदर्शन वापस लिया। इसी तरह 17 तारीख को मेरा प्रदर्शन है। मुझे यकीन है कि हिंदू भाई जिस तरह मैंने पिछले जुमे को मदद की, उस तरह अगले जुमे को मेरी मदद की जाएगी। नरेंद्र मोदी को अपनी इस धृतराष्ट्र की भूमिका से बाहर आकर फौरन फैसला करना चाहिए। नुपुर शर्मा और इस जैसी भाषा बोलने वाले तमाम लोगों को गिरफ्तार करना चाहिए, जेल भेजना चाहिए। इनकी सुरक्षा अगर करना चाहते हो।
Also, this is not the first time that such provocative remarks have been made. Time and again, we've seen political and community leaders issuing provocative threats. On the 10th of June, AIMM MP Imtiaz Jalil said that if you have to hang Nupur Sharma, then hang her on this very square of Aurangabad. On the 12th of June, Faisal Wani, YouTuber, said that the only punishment for blasphemy is beheading. On the 1st of June, Adil Ghafoor Ganai, a cleric, had said that Nupur Sharma will be chopped into pieces. These are the kind of statements that we've seen coming in the past several days. Let's take this across to our guest now.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Go across to our panelists now. Sushil Pandit is with us, activist. Subrashta is with us, founder of The Churn. Majid Haidri, political analyst, with us. Tausif Ahmed, the advocate, is with us. And Sunny Dhiman, spokesperson of the Youth Congress, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me begin with Tausif Ahmed. Tausif Ahmed, how acceptable are statements such as this individual Tauqir Raza? When you come out and make statements like "Dikha denge," kitna josh hai? You know, this kind of a statement hardly seems like a peaceful appeal. It seems like a statement that is inciting individuals. And who then is responsible if Sunday's protest goes out of hand?
So we have administration which will look into it if there is any incitement. What I have heard Mr. Tauqir saying is that instead of Friday, the meeting would be, or the protest, whatever you can call it, would be held on Sunday. And since the administration is so fearful of Friday protest, he said that we will prove that people who love Prophet will come out even on Sunday instead of Friday. So if he has some message to give to the people, as long as it is peaceful, it is welcome. He has a right, he has a democratic right to do so. But if gathering turns violent, then he will have to face the music. I hope the administration will take action against it. Administration cannot.
Tausif Ahmed, I only wish the language that he has used was as tempered as yours. That is my only desire, because, we can play out, if you want, once again what has been said. But let me bring in Subrashta into this. Subrashta, was the language that innocent? I'm sure you would have heard the statement. Phrases such as "Dikha denge," "Josh hai kitna." These kind of phraseology are sure to be something that, could have even a normal person who may be going there for a peaceful protest could very well be incited with it. And this is not the first time that a controversial comment is coming from this individual.
Yes, Madhav, this person concerned has, in the past also, he has been speaking like that. And I don't understand what is the problem in ordinary people or people who claim some kind of political capital, I don't understand why do they have a problem in condemning these statements outright. It's not like one is asking them to apologize on behalf of Mr. Raza. One is simply saying that come out in the open and unequivocally say that what he said was wrong. Because what he said is a dog whistle. What he said is a dog whistle and is a very sophisticated, intellectual kind of an urge in front of a camera to a group of mob to be incited and then create trouble and mayhem on the streets. What is the role of for example, the panelists sitting here? Can't they just condemn unequivocally and say that what was said was wrong? At every level it was wrong and the person should face the music. And not, bring whataboutery here and not talk about what XYZ said on XYZ date, because I think in this country for the past 1 week or so, we have been continuously debating the problematics of, communal speeches, the semantics of of various kinds of statements that have been made. So I don't understand where is the problem in just unequivocally condemning something which is not right at all.
Sure. Tausif Ahmed. You heard that. Why is it so difficult to unequivocally condemn what Mr. Raza has said? Is it such a difficult thing to do, given the kind of provocative language used by this individual?
No, who is BJP to ask anyone to condemn a statement by Mr. Raza? If there was any objectionable thing he had said, then police
am I BJP, Mr.
Police
Tausif?
won't. Police
no, Mr.
won't
Tausif,
sit.
am I BJP?
You are following the line of BJP.
Am I BJP,
now,
Mr. Tausif?
If BJP, I have said
have
you
I ever
the line of
no,
BJP.
have I ever even shown an ambition to joining BJP?
Okay, let us
she's
not
not a
go
BJP
into what
spokesperson
about
for
it.
the
Let me
record,
complete.
Mr. Tausif Ahmed. She's
No,
not a
why would you
BJP
say that?
spokesperson.
Who are you to give a certificate?
Tomorrow you
Who are
want
you
her
to
to label
assess
you
my,
as a Raza
political,
spokesperson. Let's not get into labeling each other, please. Let's not go down that road. Let's not go down that road. But why is it so difficult to condemn this person? Tausif Raza, simple question.
Discuss rationally.
Anyone who uses the language of violence, should that be condemned or not?
Think that you guys are youngsters and millennials.
I think the lady must stop heckling me because people are watching her. See, whatever Mr. Raza has said is on record. If there is any objectionable material,
you are labeling me and you
police
expect me to
will
know.
take
I'm sorry, Mr. Tausif. You might come from a tradition where women take anything and everything lying low.
Police has gone to an extent. Can she stop heckling me? Let me finish. I did not speak when she was talking. Now, if there is any objectionable material,
what you said, what you said was wrong. You have to apologize for that and move
you will
ahead.
have to moderate this. You will have to.
No, let me just come in here. Tausif, one second. Before this goes any further, 1 second. Let me come in now. Subrashta and Tausif, let me just come in now. Tausif, the fact is that she is not a BJP spokesperson, and there is no BJP spokesperson on this panel. Whatever you may choose to believe, she is not a BJP spokesperson. Secondly, if everybody starts labeling the other co-panelists something else, then this debate will become rather infructuous and pointless. Let's not go down that road. The question that she raised, however, is very simple and very pertinent. And I'm going to put that question across to Sunny Dhiman now, because Sunny Dhiman, your party is an ally of this individual. This person backs the Congress party, and the language used by this person is certainly not a language that should be used in any way to actually calm frayed nerves.
You have objection to? No, if there was any objectionable remark, police wouldn't be sitting. Police we have seen as
no, but so then why don't you condemn it? If you believe it's objectionable, then condemn it. No. What is wrong in condemning it, Tausif Ahmed? Anyway, you had your turn. Let someone else come in. Sunny Dhiman, do you condemn the language used by this individual Tauqir Raza or not? Do you find this objectionable where he uses words like "dikha denge"? Josh hai kitna?
जगह है कितनी जेल में तेरे देख लिया है देखेंगे ठीक है ये हम बोलते हैं और कल कांग्रेस पार्टी पूरे देश में दिखाएगी और देश का युवा जो अग्निपथ आप जला रहे हो ना उनको केरोसिन डाल के वो भी दिखाएंगे नाउ यू डू यू थिंक दैट आई एम प्रोवोकिंग डू यू थिंक आई एम प्रोवोकिंग वी आर इन अ डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री अगर हम वायलेंस को प्रमोट नहीं कर रहे हैं बट थोड़ा गुस्सा तो जरूरी है सरकार को दिखाने के लिए कि आप अन्याय कर रहे हैं हम वायलेंस नहीं चाहते ना हम वायलेंस करेंगे तौकीर रजा जाने उन्होंने क्या कहा है लेकिन कल कांग्रेस पार्टी देखिएगा कल क्या करेगी और जिन युवाओं की आप नौकरी खा रहे हैं जिन्हें आप ठेके पर रख रहे हैं
सनी देवन क्या यहाँ कांग्रेस पार्टी की डिबेट कर रहे हैं
भारत
क्या हम कांग्रेस पार्टी की डिबेट कर रहे हैं हम एक ऐसे कंट्रोवर्शियल व्यक्ति के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं कि आप जानते हैं उन्होंने पहले में क्या कहा है, क्या इनकी कंट्रोवर्शियल स्टेटमेंट्स रही है, किस तरह की कम्युनल लाइंस पे स्टेटमेंट्स पहले दी गई हैं?
देखेंगे।
Are you aware, sir? Are you aware? You're not aware, Sunny Dhiman, and that's why I want to bring in Sushil Pandit. Sushil Pandit, please, would you like to educate Mr. Sunny Dhiman about the background of this individual and why these statements have a context? And why it becomes so dangerous when a person like Mr. Raza, who is in the process of organizing a protest march on Sunday, makes these statements in the run-up to that?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Mr. Pandit. Question for you.
Thank you. Madhav, it is important to see the track record of this character called Dhamki. About 12 years back, he offered a bounty of 250 million rupees on George Bush, the then American president. Just a few months back in January, he threatened that if Muslim youth step out on his call, Hindus won't find a place to hide. This is as late as January this year, just before the UP elections. This man has been a rabble-rouser, and his call to violence and his threats of unleashing violence have been a bit too often to be ignored. So if this man just shifts his protest or his event from Friday to Sunday, doesn't mean he's doing us a big favor or he is going to be Gandhian by shifting it by 48 hours. I think administration should take note of what he has been so far. He should have been locked up and the key thrown away 12 years ago. I don't think any consequences were visited upon them when he issued a bounty on the US president's head. This is more than enough for any administration to take. He should now, I think, suffer for all that he has represented and done in the last few years. And if they don't, if the administration doesn't do it, they will be themselves to be blamed for it. Then they will have no reason to seek sympathy from law-abiding citizens. This should be clear to everyone.
Let me just bring in, and that's a very fair point, because let me just bring in some of the past statements. Tausif Ahmed, this is what has been said by Tauqir Raza in the past. He has said that I see anger in the eyes of my youth and I'm afraid one day this anger will burst out. I'm afraid that the day I lose control over them, what will happen? In May, he has said the day Muslim youth become angry, the day I lose control over them, these youth will take law in their own hands and you will have no place to hide. Can you overlook such statements, Tausif Ahmed? The same person who's making these statements, where you see a very innocent, plain vanilla statement being made. It's this person who's making the statement today.
Madhav, the protest rally or meeting which was originally scheduled for Friday has been postponed to Sunday. I think it's a very welcome step because Friday is a weekday. If protest march is on the street, it will be more inconvenient for the people who are out to go to their offices or to student colleges. If it is on Sunday, it will be less inconvenient. In fact,
so they will have more freedom to commit violence. Is that what you are saying? No. What if it becomes violent like what we had seen last Friday, sir? In multiple places in the country?
Negative connotation you are drawing.
No, is it not a fact that several of those protests turn violent? Who will take responsibility if there is violence tomorrow, Tausif Ahmed? Tell me that.
Let me.
Who will take responsibility if there is violence?
We cannot be so cynical.
No, who will take responsibility? After making such a statement, if the protest turns violent, who will take the responsibility, Tausif Ahmed? Simple question to you. Will you take responsibility?
I will tell you from
Should Mr. Raza take responsibility?
No, Madhav, please do not bombard me with all those questions.
No, because there has to be a reasonable, sensible argument that is made here.
You have to be patient. Please be patient. Let me answer. I will tell you from my personal experience. The police officer once told me that instead of weekdays, the protest march and all could be organized on weekends. And I think it's a welcome step that Mr. Raza somehow has, rescheduled it on Sunday. What is the problem? Yes, if your apprehension is that there could be violence, police will make proper...
No, that is sir, that may be great. You may have had this private conversation with the policeman. I'm not disputing that. But that does not mean that in this situation, while protest marches are being organized, that irresponsible comments should be made. That is the point that I'm making to you, Tausif Ahmed. Unfortunately, there is
nothing irresponsible. There is nothing irresponsible. And so far, the video that you have played,
Nothing irresponsible. The person's track record should also, one should put a blindfold on their eye and cover up whatever has been said by the same person in the past.
Mr. Raza said that he will prove to the people,
Sushil Pandit,
people who love profit.
Sushil Pandit, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong in this statement. Nothing wrong. It is absolutely fine. It will not provoke people.
Now, Madhav, you know what kind of apologists you call to your debate. If they have to stand by everything rotten spoken by this man in the past and whitewash it by saying that there is nothing wrong with it, what is the point of even having a debate? Who are we debating with? And what kind of an argument is this? That there is nothing wrong with issuing a bounty on US president? That there is nothing wrong with issuing threats that you won't have a place to hide if I unleash Muslim youth on you? There is nothing wrong with these statements? Then there is no...
We are talking about the rally of Sunday.
There's no point of even having an argument. I thought we were having a civilized argument with people who had some modicum of decency. If they have to sit here and whitewash all these threats being brandished on peaceful, civilized society, then they are part of the problem. Then there's no point arguing with them. Here is a man who's a lunatic. He is an existential threat to peaceful citizens. He needs to be jailed. He needs to be slapped with charges. He needs to face the consequences so that he learns a lesson before he opens his mouth in future. And he cannot be risked with leading a mob, whether it is a Friday or a Sunday. He cannot be risked with leading any kind of mob on any day,
now,
at any point of time.
Needs to learn the lesson being taught by Supreme Court.
Okay. Okay, so therefore UP administration, it's all UP government's fault that this person is making these comments. Let me bring in Majid Haidari. Majid Haidari, it is all the UP government's fault that you have Tauqir Raza coming out and making these statements. But as the question posed by Sushil Pandit is, if he does lead a protest march after making such insightful comments as he has made in the past, who takes responsibility for that?
दुनिया को दिखा देंगे, हम बुलडोजर को मोहब्बत के अंदाज से खा देंगे. Firstly, let me tell you, everybody on the show, that Article 19(1)(b) of the Indian Constitution allows every Indian citizen to hold protest demonstrations, to assemble somewhere and even protest against the government. Now, coming to this innovation, this wonderful innovation of Maulana Raza Sahab, let me say that he should not only invite Muslims, but people from all the communities, that even Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Jains, everybody come. Because a blasphemy against one community should be seen as blasphemy against every community. Why should he only invite Muslims? Maulana Sahab, aap sabon ko bulaiye. Let it be a big mega show of human unity against blasphemy. And we really welcome your innovation that on Sunday you are calling these protests so that more and more peaceful people assemble together and join this cause. This is really wonderful. Hats off to you, sir, for this. I mean, everybody should come up with such innovative methods so that people get united, the nation gets...
Dikha denge bhi innovative hai.
What is right?
Dikha denge is also innovative according to you.
Sir, दिखा देंगे तो मैंने आपको गाना ही सुना दिया. It has been our tradition. ये तो हमारे गानों में हमारे संगीत.
It's perfectly acceptable. All right, no provocation. Subhraj sir, no provocation. Dikha denge is there in songs, it's there in poems. It's perfectly fine to actually appeal and say that dikha denge. You know, these kind of phrases are perfectly fine. And at the same time say that this will be a peaceful protest.
I am appalled, Madhav, at Mr. Majid actually justifying what this man said. He quoted the Indian Constitution, but did he also understand? But does he also understand that the Indian Constitution doesn't ask you to come out on the streets and start, arson, riot, and loot? This is what this is exactly what has happened on the streets of Kanpur and elsewhere in the country. The entire country was burning last Friday because of such, protests on Friday after the, the Jummeh ki namaz. And it is in that context that Mr. Raza is saying. What is Mr. Majid Haidari trying to say? Does he not understand contextualization? Is he living in some la-la land where he is discussing poetry and, semantics of what was said? Mr. Haidari, there is a context to this entire conversation. Do you understand people have lost their lives? There has been a call for economic boycott on a WhatsApp group which had Samajwadi Party MLAs, sitting MLAs on that group. Do you understand the context? Please tell me, do you read the newspapers?
No, why do
you know what's going on in this country? Can you please unequivocally, can anybody in the panel who believes that they represent the opposition?
All right. Well, that condemnation does not seem to be coming for the moment. Unfortunately, people will continue to make these kind of incendiary comments. Unfortunately, these are people who are leaders who should be playing a more responsible role rather than actually fanning the flames that appear to be there at the moment. I'll have to leave it there. I'd like to thank all our guests for joining us this evening. With that, it's a wrap on the Newshour agenda.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break. Times now. Action begins here. You're watching the News Hour at 10.